Los Angeles County Civilian Oversight Commission. I'm Chair Hans Johnson, calling this meeting to order, and we will start with the land acknowledgement, as is customary. This was adopted by the board in 2022 and updated just last fall. The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Kij, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past and present and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands, and we are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples and local tribal governments, including, in no particular order, the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Tongva Indians of California Tribal Council, the Gabrielino Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians, Kij Nation, Yuhaviatum of San Manuel Nation, San Fernando Band of Mission Indians, the Coastal Band of Chumash Nation, the Gabrielino Tongva Nation, the Gabrielino Tongva Tribe. To learn more about the First Peoples of Los Angeles County, please visit the Los Angeles City County Native American Indian Commission website at lanaic.lacounty.gov. Today's agenda includes, but is not limited to, some updates on the Sheriff's Department's activities, policy changes and implementation involving significant incidents and events, crime statistics, status of meet and confer discussions, and in-custody deaths. We were going to have a presentation on the Johnson Settlement Agreement as part of our regular update on settlements involving the Sheriff's Department, but we have pushed that to our May 21st agenda. So this is just a heads up for any who are here or online expecting that discussion. Please plan to tune in at our May meeting, May 21st. We will have an update on the Office of Inspector General and their 14th report back on the body-worn cameras and the revised use of force policy by LASD. We are going to have a presentation about the Sheriff's Department's implementation of recent motion by the Board of Supervisors and a follow-up from the Jail Conditions and Staffing Ad Hoc Committee of this commission. Plus, we are now going to be shifting towards our own continuity of governance by reestablishing a nomination ad hoc committee. Plus, we have an important resolution on our agenda later this morning. While we encourage community members to share what they believe to be deputy misconduct, it's important to note the commission has very serious limitations on our ability to investigate complaints, regardless of the holdings of state law, and to access investigative files and confidential information, a subject which will come up on today's agenda, in fact. We also aren't allowed to receive complaints directly from the OIG, but we are continuing to work on this capability, exercising powers granted to this commission under AB 1185 and AB 847. With that, I want to shift back to Robert Flores, who will explain our code of conduct and our public comment rules in English and in Spanish.
Before we proceed, I'd like to reiterate that we are providing real-time AI interpretation of this meeting that supports more than 50 languages. Here's how you can access Wordly. On our meeting agenda, you'll see a QR code and a URL. Scan the QR code and click on the URL, then click on Attend. Once you have chosen your preferred language, translated captions will appear automatically on your device. Virtual meeting attendees can listen to the transition in real time by unmuting the speaker icon. Attendees here in person will need to use their earbuds or headphones. To ensure a productive meeting for all, please follow the code of conduct as follows. Speakers must cease speaking when their allotted time has ended. Public comment must be related to the agenda item and be within the Commission's jurisdiction. Public comment does not include the right to engage in dialogue with the Commission. Be respectful of the views expressed by the speakers, staff, and Commission members. Please refrain from profane, personal, threatening, derogatory, demeaning, or abusive statements. Do not disrupt the orderly conduct of the meeting. A person engaging in conduct that disrupts the meeting is subject to being muted or removed from the meeting. Now I will go over the guidelines for making public comment. Those wishing to speak in person, please turn in your public comment card here. Those attending this meeting remotely, please use the raise hand feature on WebEx. If you're on the phone, please press *3. Each person called up to provide public comment will have up to 2 minutes to speak on an agenda item. The chair has discretion to change the allotted time due to time constraints. Non-agenda public comment will be heard near the end of the meeting. Now I will announce the rules in Spanish. Buenos días, le damos la bienvenida a esta reunión a miembros de la comunidad que hablan español. No tenemos un intérprete, pero sus comentarios serán traducidos al inglés para la comisión después de la reunión. Si quieres un intérprete en el futuro, puedes enviar una solicitud 48 horas antes de nuestras reuniones. Si desea hablar en persona, completa una tarjeta en la mesa que dice comentarios públicos. Si desea hablar por WebEx, levante la mano. Si desea hablar por teléfono, presione *3. Simplemente diga la palabra español antes de comenzar y le diremos cómo proceder. Le daremos 2 minutos para sus comentarios públicos. Gracias.
Thank you, Robert. I do see that we have a quorum with us. I know we are expecting the arrival of 2 additional commissioners at least shortly. Please call the roll.
Co-Vice Chair Arthur Callaway,
Expected shortly.
Commissioner Irma Cooper,
Present.
Co-Vice Chair Luis S. Garcia,
Present.
Commissioner Patricia Giggins,
Also expected shortly.
Commissioner James P. Harris,
Present.
Commissioner Jamon R. Hicks,
Present.
Commissioner London McBride,
Excused absence.
Commissioner George Newhouse,
Just arriving.
and Chair Johnson.
Here.
With that, we have 6 commissioners present and 7 commissioners present and 2 commissioners absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Robert, and welcome to Commissioner Newhouse and to Co-Vice Chair Callaway. The consent calendar consists of the Commission's March 19th meeting minutes. Are there any proposed changes from Commissioner's review of the last meeting's minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Commissioner Newhouse seconding. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair also voting aye. That motion passes 7-0. Now, as is customary, the Commission welcomes family impact remarks from people who have lost loved ones due to fatal use of force by LASD. The procedure for making public comment is linked in the agenda. Do we have family impact remarks today, Mr. Flores?
Yes, we have one family impact remark from Yvette Correa. If you could please take the podium.
Ms. Correa, thank you for joining us here today, and we appreciate the opportunity to hear your testimony.
Oh, thank you. My name's Yvette Correa. I'm the older sister of Juan Correa, who lost his life in custody on September 26, 2017, in Men's Central Jail, but he was supposed to be in Twin Towers. And it's difficult to understand what's happening, and it's difficult to understand why nothing gets done and why reports are tailored to support certain interests, and why certain names are protected while others are not. And it's difficult to understand when people in certain positions are not in that position anymore because we all know what they were doing, and reports do not get rewritten, such as, for example, district attorney reports that are not being transparent and only telling a story to protect their friends' interests. And there's a bill in the state Senate, Bill 1071, that would allow death certificates to be rewritten, for example. So, you know, when you hear about stuff like that, it really brings some hope. But when we have a circus like this going on, where we have representatives from the sheriff's department allowed to sit here and lie through their teeth and not bring any information about what corrective action plans are being done. The families come to the commissions with information about these deputy gangs. Nothing gets done until a lawsuit happens. For example, the Lakewood sheriffs have the Ace of Spades tattoo. And the Civilian Oversight Commission was informed well before the lawsuits. And you got them working way over in another city. And the same thing with the deputies in the juvenile facilities. I read their cases are being dismissed, and these are minors. There's no record. There's no record of what they're doing. Their names or identities don't get printed. Not even the managers. It's known that agencies, if your employees are using aliases or names for their stations and tattoo numbers to represent their station, that's a gang. So one of their managers, you know, you can ask any agency, any governmental agency, one of their managers is supposed to have a list of what aliases they go by and what the name of their particular group is that they use for their station. So City of Lakewood, I'm sorry that, you know, they're telling us that these entities don't exist. And, you know, for us families, it's painful, and it takes a lot of courage to come up here and speak. And you guys can go on YouTube and look at all the meetings they've had, and look at the meeting they had last week where we had a female deputy sitting here saying the deputies do nothing wrong, when 2 days prior, we had to give them $8 million of taxpayer money for something they're telling us doesn't exist. So that's the latest. So can we have representatives here that aren't lying through their teeth, that aren't talking about all the lawsuits, and won't give us any information about what internal corrective actions they do with the employees that their names aren't not being printed in the news articles, and where they're going now? Are they working with the minors, having them do gladiator fights? Are they working in the towers? Are they working in Central Jail? Are they working in Compton, where they have my neighbors, they cannot go outside because they're being gang banged on by the deputies asking them where they're from? When no one's hiding, they're not hiding their tattoos. They're not hiding nothing. They can't give the little kids a sticker. They see everyone getting along and they gotta come and bang on our neighbors. They gotta point guns at them without asking them, hey, we got a report of a gun. Who has a gun? No, they're just jumping off their cars ready to shoot somebody. without asking. Anybody can call and make things up. Speak. Say why you're pointing a gun. Explain yourself. What if I hadn't been there for my neighbors? Then what? And I have to risk my life because they don't want to do their job correctly? And we're crazy? We're crazy. We're crazy. Deputy gangs don't exist. We have to sit here and listen to this circus when we know the news is telling everyone they just gave $8 million to the deputies, while the deputies that sued, their names get printed, their records get printed, they get humiliated. So how does this work? You know, the families are tired. They're tired. We don't want to come here anymore. Nothing gets done. There's no records. It's clear. If they don't have internet, if their superiors are not informing them and briefing them before they sit here, let them go to the library a day before these meetings and do a little bit of research and then come talk to us. You know, under what circumstances do the Los Angeles County sheriffs do autopsies for inmates that have died in Riverside County? Under what circumstances? Why do they do things like that? If somebody dies in custody in Riverside, why is the body being transferred and given to them to do the autopsy when they're known gang members? Rest in peace, Jamar Antonio Stamps. So remember, everybody, State Senate Bill 1071 would allow death certificates to be rewritten. And death certificates are opinions. The videos don't lie. Thanks to John Horton, we have video of my brother, but we all know videos get edited. It shouldn't take 2 years to release a video if the death was natural. When we see on the news that videos get released the same day incidents happen, when it's in favor of the police. If a death is natural, you don't make my parents sit there at a news conference and ask for justice without telling them the death report was just finished and said it was natural. Nobody told them. So everybody's in cahoots. And everybody's filling their pockets. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Correa. Thank you for being here and thank you for your testimony. And we hope that you do not give up and that you do come back. We welcome you. We welcome your testimony and that of other family members who've experienced the loss, the trauma, and the aftermath of all of the incidents that we welcome testimony to bear witness here. I wanted to also recognize that we have a guest here with us again today. We're pleased that a opening on the sheriff's schedule allowed him to be here in person. We were not expecting that, so this is a welcome addition to our meeting and the opportunity to have direct, candid, and timely back and forth with our elected sheriff. I want to welcome back Robert Luna and hope that he and any members of the chain of command who are here might be able to stay with us just a little bit based on their schedule. So with that, I welcome a brief report by the sheriff.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Chair Johnson, and thank you for that introduction. To all the commissioners, Executive Director Mosley, and Inspector General, County Council, and members of our community. I'm going to begin with a brief overview of notable events since the last commission meeting. Since the last commission meeting, the department has participated in several community engagement efforts including the YMCA's 58th annual Good Friday breakfast and service outreach at the Los Angeles Mission during Easter, underscoring the department's continued commitment to community partnerships and public service. On April 4th, our department personnel continued our youth outreach efforts by participating in the Sheriff's Youth Foundation Fight to Finish, where members of the Youth Athletic League from both the Century Station and Norwalk Station did an amazing job of bringing a lot of at-risk youth together, their parents, family members, to a facility out in the unincorporated area of Whittier. By the way, I'm just going to throw something out, is I do want to thank Supervisor Hahn, because as I walked around this facility and got a lot of testimony from parents who were really loving the engagement of the deputy sheriffs who were committed to the program, her office donated $250,000 to make sure that not only there was the appropriate gym equipment, the proper mentoring and coaching, but there's also after-school programming there that both Parks and Rec staff are involved in and our deputy sheriffs. And it's making a huge difference in that area, keeping kids out of trouble. Let's see what else. March 25th, the department contributed to the professional and public safety dialogue in participating at the 20th Annual Interagency Council on Child Abuse and Neglect, Childhood Grief and Traumatic Loss Conference, which highlighted childhood grief and traumatic loss, restoring joy to children and families throughout Los Angeles County. Every child experiences grief differently, and there were so many different available resources apart from us at the Sheriff's Department, the District Attorney's Office, our partners at the Department of Children and Family Services, and many community-based organizations working in collaboration to do that. On March 31st, the department hosted its third annual Women's History Celebration, honoring women contributions to law enforcement and to public service. It was a wonderful celebration for all the women that serve in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Thank you, Charmaine Mosley, for being present, along with standing room only. And we had a former chief from our department, retired, who came in and talked about what it was like coming in as a woman in law enforcement back in the 60s, and how things have just drastically changed between then and now. On Thursday, April 9th, the department celebrated the new graduation of Academy Class 488, welcoming 40 new deputies who have begun serving the residents of Los Angeles County. And then earlier this week, unfortunately, the department was involved in a funeral for one of our young deputies who was participating in the Baker to Vegas Challenge Cup Relay. Unfortunately, he passed as a result of his involvement in there. So we're still mourning the loss of our deputy, and that funeral was held on Tuesday, April 14th. I know several members of the Civilian Oversight Commission were there. And I really appreciate your support for the family of Levi Vargas. In addition to all these events, the department continues to work on updating technology to become a more modern department. This includes updating our computer-aided dispatch system, among other technologies. We are working towards a better records management system. I still repeat this over and over. We are the largest county jail system in the country, and we do not have a jail management system. With the support of the board, we will continue to move forward and try and achieve that to better serve all of our community. And the county's Quality and Productive Commission, in fact, we had an opportunity in regards to technology to update the county's Quality and Productivity Commission. Following this presentation, the department was awarded a top award, the Gold Eagle Award, at the Commission's 2025 Annual Productivity and Quality Awards Program for its work in collaboration with the Register Recorder, County Clerk, and the state-of-the-art Ballot Processing Center project. Our department remains committed to collaborating with the Commission to address concerns, strengthen operations, and build public trust. We share the goal of ensuring public safety efforts through effective accountability and responsive to the needs of our communities that we serve. So as always, I'm glad to be here with all of you, and I stand ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Sheriff. Are there any questions from commissioners based on the sheriff's report or any recent activities, including our own forum last week on in-custody deaths, at which we were very pleased to welcome some crucial participation from the department, including Captain Boteo, who's here with us today from that forum. Any questions for the sheriff here while we have him in person? From our co-vice chairs, any questions for the sheriff? Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? Robert?
Yes, Commissioner Johnson, we have three public comments online. The first is from Anastasia. Anastasia, you're unmuted.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hello. So first of all, I'd like to thank Sheriff Luna for attending this meeting. The other thing too is I am a candidate for governor of California, nonpartisan. And I understand there are many issues here in LA County that need to be addressed with jails and at the state level with state prisons. And all I can say is the sheriff has a hard time because it's a lot of people. So he's at the top, and I'm glad to see him. He's here today and everything, but it's a lot of stuff on his shoulders. So what I see here out of Malibu, because I live here in Malibu, that things are getting better. So I just want to encourage you guys to do your best, and I want to thank Sheriff Luna for taking the time to participate in your meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next online speaker is from Omar Aguirre. Omar, you are unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome,
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Aguirre.
Thank you. This question is directed to Sheriff Luna. My name is Omar Aguirre. My son, Maxwell Aguirre, is an Air Force veteran. He died in custody. And my question is just a simple yes or no question for you, Sheriff Luna. Is it or is it not a crime to falsify Title 15 checks while an inmate is in custody?
It's public comment. We don't have it back and forth during public comment, but we appreciate the comment, and we appreciate your making it also at the forum last week in East LA. And we welcome your participation at that gathering, and it's an issue on which this commission will be following up. Thank you again, Mr. Aguirre.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Our next public comment is from Eric Strong. Eric, you can begin. You're unmuted.
And to everybody, first of all, I'd like to thank you for putting on these forums. And I want to say, Hans, of course, the sheriff is here. He's campaigning. You know, if he wins again, he'll stop coming again until the next election cycle. But we should know that already. Listen, I watched the COC meeting on April 9th and addressing the deaths in the jails. I've been at several meetings, town halls, where I've personally seen and heard Luna speak and talk about the Attorney General's investigation is based on old information. He's misleading the public. He's giving false information, and you determine if it's an actual outright lie or not. He claims this is a result of an aging population, right? Basically, it's false. 55 years old. I mean, I think I'm older than 55, and this is not the aging population that he wants to present. And it was brought out that the increase in deaths is mainly between the ages of 20 to 29. So these are things that are being misled and being put out false. And I encourage the COC to broadcast and market somehow their own information. It's one thing to say that everything can be found online, but the public is not really being informed about a lot of these things. It's been identified already by several committees and oversight that the factors here are internal and not a result of external factors. This means these are all failures of leadership. Being served moldy, spoiled food is not happening because it's an old building. There are no walls, no ceilings, or no floors that are serving people moldy food. That's a personnel issue. That means it's a leadership issue. Not getting to their medical appointments and their mental health appointments. It's not the walls that are not servicing the people. It is the personnel there, and it's a leadership issue. So thank you for the great meeting that you guys put on. It was very informative. I encourage you to continue doing so, and I encourage you to keep holding accountability. And as a candidate for LA County Sheriff, I will be at the meetings and I will be transparent.
Our next online public comment is from Byron. Byron, you can go ahead. You've been unmuted.
The Subpoena Coalition. Good morning, commissioners, for all your work. The last speaker should be allowed to campaign on the floor, and that's why Sheriff Luna is here. But good morning, Sheriff. I'm glad that you're here, not just because it's campaign season. I wouldn't say that in relation to your budget, as we continue to move, we continue to see a liability cost. I want to give respect to the families and loved ones and our community members who have passed the failures of this department. But more importantly, while we do work at some of the units that may be working, like your gender responsive units, I do want to make sure I'll be emailing you directly, Sheriff, that your Sergeant at Arms and the unit that is in charge of the Board of Supervisor meetings, they're not trained to deal with the public. So before you lose that whole contract and we look at private security forces, so everyone else that manages the building, including the 8th floor, for when the public are dealing with them. So you need to reassign both the captains and some of the officers there that are not trained to dealing with the public, especially through their implicit homophobic bias and racist bias against Latinos. So I will follow up with you directly. But thank you to this commission for setting space for family members earlier today. Thank you.
That concludes our online public comment.
Thank you. And I would note that the accessibility of this meeting, including for candidates who made use of our public comment time today, shows the commitment of this commission to openness and to inclusion in the voices that we hear from the public. I do want to just give commissioners one additional opportunity to ask a question of the sheriff. Co-Vice Chair Garcia.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on these comments or these public comments by candidates. And I just wanted to put this out there that as a former inmate and as a commissioner who's toured the food services section in Mint Central Jail. So when we talk about food being moldy, I don't think these people understand that there's other inmates in the jail setting that are preparing these foods. So those same inmates will go back to a module, or if they're cell block, whatever, security status, which are mostly trustees. So wherever they go. So I don't think that they're going to be handing out moldy food. And I've seen moldy food in there, but it was by people that kept things under their bunk or in their cell. So I just, from this oversight role and what goes on in the department inside the jails, there has been, there could be a lot more improvements, like, what is it, like French toast and pancakes on hot meals like they used to have. So that's my little comment on that. But, I just hear it you hear so many misinformation. So if there's factual information, I'd appreciate, hearing that from the public. Thank you.
Also, just wanted to take the opportunity to follow up on an important debate that happened at the Board of Supervisors at the April 7th meeting of the board regarding the settlement by the county to the tune of $8 million in a case involving deputy gang activity at the East LA station. And I wanted to just highlight the importance of that conversation for any who did not tune in to the Board of Supervisors meeting for that discussion on item 59 and the important participation in that discussion of Sheriff Luna, of Undersheriff April Tardy, of the head of the Office of Constitutional Policing, Eileen Decker, and of both the interim inspector general and the deputy inspector general, Dara Williams, who is here with us today at that meeting. But I wanted to just follow up on that discussion because, as noted, the Board of Supervisors memo about that $8 million settlement actually named the deputy gang, the Bandidos, involved in that settlement. And we had a lengthy discussion at this meeting in March about the refusal of the Sheriff's Department to mention specific deputy gangs in its effort to eradicate deputy gangs. This was noted in the Office of Inspector General's quarterly report issued on February 26th, and there was a considerable discussion about that. I just wanted to ask the sheriff, who is continuing his outspoken commitment to both stop the introduction of new deputy gang members in the ranks and to eradicate participation in deputy gangs in the ranks. What more can be done to name specific deputy gangs, and will the department do more to identify the problem so that more action can be taken to root out the problem? That was one of the subjects of the discussion before the board, and I think there was some considerable impatience expressed by supervisors at the pace of progress, which we can get at a future discussion, I think even on this agenda of the meeting. But I did want to just ask the sheriff about naming specific deputy gangs, which the supervisors did during that discussion, and whether the department can do that as part of its effort to eradicate them.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I'm going to do is, if you don't mind, I can go through the list of everything that we're doing. Because obviously from some of the public comments, which I'm extremely sensitive to, not so much the politically driven rhetoric that we just heard on the phone. And I think for all of you who are here as a Civilian Oversight Commission, those of you who have been here during my 3-year plus tenure, I think you could probably count on one hand the meetings that I've missed. I have engaged you fully. I have cooperated with you whenever the law absolutely allows me to, and even when we don't. We are having conversations that I think have moved us forward in a way that we had not moved forward. But I do want to reemphasize this. There's a lot of work to do. I'm not sitting here telling you the work is done, that it's complete. And as I told the board that day, for a challenge that's existed, some say that goes back 50 years, it takes more than 3 years to get this done, but there is a lot of work being done. And number one is to acknowledge that we've had a problem. You can't try to fix something unless you acknowledge that there has been a challenge in the past. Clear expectations to all department employees. And I know you're asking, and remarks have been made about tattoos and gang, the name of gang groups, subgroups, cliques, whatever you want to call them. They have names that don't belong in law enforcement. I made that very clear from day one when I walked into this job. So again, I've given very clear expectations to department employees, making, and this is key to the law, making any gang-like behavior unacceptable. I don't care if you're part of this group or any group or you're not. If you behave in a certain way, you're going to be disciplined all the way up to being dismissed. I have made that very clear. That's why I created the Office of Constitutional Policing. I hired the former U.S. attorney, which is tasked with taking the lead on eradicating deputy gangs, improving compliance with court orders, and ensuring constitutional practices throughout our department, which does include custody. And I want to reemphasize this as well, that we are focused on behavior. And that is absolutely critical, because when, and I think it's going to be discussed later on, when I got here, we were in debate with the federal monitors because the department was not moving forward with the new use of force policy. We have done that. We went through an extensive meet and confer process where we got, and whether people in here like it or not, you got to follow the law. You got to go through meet and confer. If you have somebody telling you, I'm not going to listen to the attorneys, I can ignore it, they're saying that because they have no experience at doing this job. So you got to understand, if you want substantial culture change, you've got to do it with everybody on board. I've done that with use of force. That's still a work in progress. I've done it with the new upgraded, updated gang policy. We have an existing click policy. I'm trying to upgrade that click policy. That is in meet and confer currently, along with several other things that you guys are going to probably discuss. The Office of Constitutional Policing handles all inquiries and any allegations of deputy gangs or cliques. I already talked about the meet and confer process that has been extensive. And you know what? I do want to say thank you to labor, the different labor organizations. The discussions were not easy. We all had to face and look in the mirror and face some hard, cold facts, but they're on board and we're moving forward. We're going to make our department better, which makes the service we provide to our community a lot better. We developed internal focus groups to ensure department leaders at every rank take responsibility for addressing this issue, which includes the Office of Inspector General, development and communication, leadership and training with all of our teams. We have held community meetings throughout the County of Los Angeles. A lot of that was done with the assistance of the Federal Department of Justice, who helped facilitate those over the last several years. We do meet with all new recruits. I personally meet with new recruits to reinforce the zero tolerance policy for participation in any such groups, and more importantly, the behavior. It's the behavior we need to focus on, because that leads you to everything else. I do require all new deputies to sign a pledge that they will not, I repeat, that they will not join a law enforcement gang. I meet with all new supervisors to ensure they understand their responsibilities in ending this issue, because we're going to do it together. Meeting regularly with department executives to reinforce my position that I will not, and neither will they, tolerate any such behavior. I think you're all aware, especially on this commission, that we now ask captains and above, when they're trying to promote, if they've participated in this kind of activity or about tattoos. That is legally, technically challenging. That's something we're maneuvering through, but we're moving ahead with that. And I also want to remind that on a lot of this work that's been done, this commission has been a big part of it. This commission, several years ago, made 27 recommendations, 26 which were for our department. Out of those 26, 19 are substantially in compliance. There are 5 that are partially in compliance. Several of those are in meet and confer, and there were 2 that I disagreed with respectfully with the commission. And one was to flatten out the organization with ranks, because I am holding my command staff, my supervision, more accountable today than they ever have been. That's a big part of accountability. And then the rotation of deputies every so often. The majority of this community that I've gotten input from does not want their deputies rotated. The foundation of community or relationship-based policing is having relationships between deputies out in neighborhoods with businesses, neighborhood groups, and neighborhood leaders. So I also, through internal affairs, standardized a list of questions when there's gang allegations. That was done in collaboration with the Office of the Inspector General. And as a reminder, and I've said it several times, I am the first to issue discipline for this type of behavior pending civil service. I am currently in the process of redesigning the field training officer program. I'm going to tell you something. I think that's going to probably make the biggest impact on our culture. We are currently at the table with labor and other key stakeholders to make sure as we move forward and we recreate, reinvent the fact that we do need to improve the way we have been training our deputies. That I'm really looking forward to that significant change. And I'll end it with this, Mr. Chair, is that at all levels, and I think you've heard this over and over, not only from me speaking, but from employees and other community members, I have made it absolutely 100% clear that this type of behavior is unacceptable.
Thank you. And we also believe that actions speak louder than words, and your participation in these meetings is its own action that testifies to willingness to engage the public, even through some difficult dialogues and even some difficult exchanges. But we appreciate your recognition of the partnership that this commission continues to play in bringing accountability and greater transparency. I think, as Commissioner Harris would note, one of the first steps in stopping a flood of misconduct is to fix the levees so that there's no more flooding of the terrain. So trying to stem the tide of wrongdoing or of deputy gang activity or participation begins with stopping any inroads into the department. So we appreciate that. That was noted at this last meeting in March by this body, and that is one important step forward along with the others that you noted. I do just want to ask, Mr. Flores, was there any public comment that was omitted from the last round? I did get a note that there may be an additional public comment that was not taken.
Yes, we have 4 online public comments that got disconnected.
Okay, could we perhaps give 1 minute each to those comments for the sheriff on this item?
Okay. So our first speaker is from Cindy Nunez. Cindy, you've been unmuted.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, Commission. Yes, my name is Cindy Nunez, sister of Francisco Nunez. Sheriff Luna, let's be clear. The problem is not the new recruits. The problem is the continued presence of your existing members and their leadership within your department. The lack of meaningful accountability to even address it. When those in power are failing to confront that reality, it sends everyone a message that this behavior, unfortunately, is tolerated by you. You're their leader, Luna. Individuals associated with deputy gangs continue to hold positions of authority. You promoted a Bandito-affiliated detective, Leo Sanchez, who also happens to be my brother's lead detective that you specifically assigned to my brother's case. Your focus group leader, April Tardy, she has a gang tattoo. That raises serious concerns about the trust and accountability you give us. The case Hernandez versus the $8 million settlement, the case established the existence of your deputy gangs, retaliation against employees that I always come up to this commission and tell you about, and the failure you failed to protect whistleblowers. So the issue is not whether they exist. The issue is why do you still...
Our next online comment is from Deanna Brock. Deanna, you've been unmuted.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have listened to a lot of these comments. First off, I want to say I don't think this is a forum for people to get endorsements for political things. I see the efforts by Sheriff Luna. I think he came into this Villanueva. He fought any progress in transparency in regards to deputy gangs. So Sheriff Luna, I do feel, has made some sincere efforts here with progress with these gangs. You can't just blame leadership when there's been a culture within the sheriff's department for years of these kind of gangs. I also would like to say that I do not feel that he is just doing this politically to be here. He's here every meeting. Sheriff Luna was very sincere. He directly acknowledged my son, Emmett Brock, who was beat by a deputy at a previous meeting. He stopped to say something to him personally, and that was not with cameras on Sheriff Luna. I do feel like he's sincere, but this has been an uphill battle.
Thank you. Our next online comment is from Raquel Derfler. Raquel, you've been unmuted.
Coordinator, cancel the contract. Sorry, I can't be there in person. I'm actually was just listening in my car, and I'm actually going to be making a remark about some comments from, and I don't usually do this, but I'm going to do this. I was very disappointed in the remarks of Commissioner Garcia. The reason being is that we don't expect any commissioner to come down on one side or the other, to be overtly against police or to be in complete support. And unfortunately, I don't feel that we have Garcia's position as being impartial. So when people are coming in saying that there is moldy food, sharing their experience, and he wants to take his time to give a public remark, basically saying that that person is, that's not true, you're gaslighting the public. So therefore, we cannot have any type of trust that you are going to be impartial when it comes to efforts of reforming or any type of oversight of the Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last and final public comment is in person from Jacqueline Venters.
Good morning, everyone. Sheriff Luna, you come to the meetings, but you don't stay long enough to listen to what the residents are coming here to say and share what happened to their loved ones. I've been coming to these meetings, and all the sheriff that come here, they leave before the residents are able to tell what happened to them. Accountability, we're looking for accountability from your deputies because of their unjust behaviors. And one of the things that we need to focus on is changing you guys' rules where you can't investigate yourself. That's why a lot of these families are sitting here, because you guys are allowed to investigate yourself and you never hold your deputies accountable. I've been coming here since 2018. My son was shot in the back April 4th, 2011. This deputy, we just find out he got 3 murders, 2 shootings in the back, and I'm going to stand for accountability.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.
Thank you, Robert, and thanks to all of the participants. And I would just note, Ms. Venters, we acknowledge the 15th anniversary of your son's shooting this month. Thank you for your continued presence and bearing witness here before this body. With that, I will shift gears to recognizing our executive director, who is going to provide an update on activities by this commission over the past month, which has been a very, very eventful month, which will be quite apparent, I think, from her report as well as from the subsequent report. Executive Director?
Thank you, Chair Johnson, and also thank you, Sheriff Luna, for your update. Thank you, members of the public, for attending this meeting with us this morning, and also for commenting. I'm going to first start off with professional development, and then I'm going to turn it over and highlight our community engagement activities, and then end with staffing and internal operations. So as far as professional development, staff and commissioners attended 2 well-developed Brown Act and Roberts Rules of Order trainings hosted by our county council liaisons. It's always best practice to use these sessions as refreshers because amendments happen all the time to the Brown Act. So as a public-facing county oversight commission, it's crucial to understand what we can and what we can't do. In case commissioners missed those 2 sessions on Thursday, April 23rd, which is next week, at 3 p.m., there's going to be a virtual commissioner workshop on these topics. The information was provided last week to our commissioners and is also in your meeting folders. Hopefully it's in your meeting folders. LASD also invited 2 of our commissioners to attend their training on media relations and social media next Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that is an all-day training. It would be great if a member of the Protection of Media Ad Hoc Committee is available to attend. So far, we have one of our staff who signed up, which is our community specialist, Robert Flores. So he plans on attending. So for commissioners to let me know if you would like to attend, that would be great. As far as community engagement activities and meetings, since our last meeting, we held numerous meetings with stakeholders. Commissioners and staff also attended LASD's and Supervisor Solis's Women's History Month celebrations and the Public Safety Commission meeting in West Hollywood. We staffed a table at Willowbrook Resource Fair. And then also this week on Tuesday, Vice Chair Garcia was a speaker at Los Angeles County DMH Community Reintegration Program. We also planned and held last week's in-custody death forum, which Chair Johnson highlighted in his update a little bit so far. Also, Commissioner Harris and Civil Brand Commissioner Regalado visited the North and South facilities at Pitchers Detention Center. Upcoming events include Tabling and Resource Fair in Sylmar. Planning is also underway for our first annual license plate reader virtual town hall, and that is scheduled for May 6th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Also on May 20th, staff will attend and speak at the Captain's Command College course. And then also we are working on scheduling our 2026 COC annual conference in collaboration with CSIT and other partners. I also received clarification from San Diego County's ED on the CLRB, how long their meet and confer process took. And he mentioned to me that they actually began their meet and confer process in February and ended in March. So now they have access to confidential files belonging to the Sheriff's Department. So that's a new update. And moving on to COC staffing and internal operations. At last month's meeting, I reported that we were working with the executive office staff in seeking approval for an emergency hire to fill the commission's senior staff analyst position. Since that meeting, we have identified candidates who are interested in being considered, and we plan on meeting with them beginning next week. Since last month's meeting, staff worked diligently in the planning of last week's in-custody death forum, so I wanted to thank the staff. It's a lot of behind-the-scenes work as far as like meeting with community members, as well as planning and all of the logistics that's involved with that. So kudos to staff. We are also working, or we're working with the vice chairs to prepare for submittal 2 proposals for this year's NACOL conference in Louisville. Louisville. I'll get it right eventually. One proposal is titled From Custody to Care, Expanding Civilian Oversight in Carceral Facilities, while the second proposal relates to law enforcement's use of AI and ensuring transparency. Both proposals were submitted by yesterday's deadline. The proposal that I submitted to the Governance Ad Hoc Committee to improve how the commission process regarding board motions that include directives to the commission will be on our May meeting agenda for commission discussion and consideration. And the draft of our 2025 annual report is still undergoing review, and we hope to have that finalized by the next meeting. And then finally, our office is now located in the basement of the Hall of Administration until construction of the Vermont office building is completed. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Charmaine. And I would just note, getting started, that we are pleased to be joined today by previous interim executive director Danielle Vappy Butler. It's great to have her back in a different role, working with County Council, and to be present at this meeting. I also note, with a hat tip to Commissioner Giggins, recognizing her continuing good work in sexual assault awareness and eradication, that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, a 25th anniversary month, a really important milestone in recognizing and not being quiet about an issue that continues to affect all of us. And that we all have an opportunity and a duty to give permission for honest and frank discussion about in our lives, in our workplaces, in the community. So with a particular note this month, we all can play a role, especially in our work as commissioners, to shine a light on this recurring problem, including its very troubling manifestation in custody facilities in Los Angeles County, and the continuing work to eradicate the normalization, the cover-up, or the retaliation for reporting about sexual assault and abuse, and retaliation, which enables it. I just want to note a very important ruling that happened since our last meeting. One of the most important rulings on civilian oversight in California of the past decade, and that is the ruling of the First Circuit Court of Appeal in California in the case of Iolero versus Sonoma County. Iolero, for those who don't know it, is the Independent Office of Law Enforcement Review and Outreach in Sonoma County. This ruling, in essence, overcame objections by the sheriff, joined by that county's Deputies Association, to the exercising of subpoenas on the sheriff by that civilian oversight body in Sonoma County. It also recognized the authority of civilian oversight commissions in California to do our job of oversight and to issue subpoenas under state law. One important holding of that ruling was that memoranda of understanding, or labor agreements that may operate at the local level as MOUs, are not a precondition for complying with state law. This is an important ruling in a different court of appeal from what we have here in Los Angeles County, but it's an important ruling because it sets a precedent in state law, a unanimous holding by that court of appeal, that you cannot precondition compliance with state law as a municipal or local government in California by asserting that some labor agreement or MOU is a precondition for following the law. And that is a ruling that we look to be implemented. We hope that with the quality of the ruling and with the clarity of the ruling, that it will be law that's followed elsewhere in California, even though it may not technically be dispositive precedent for all courts of appeal in California quite yet. That ruling on March 26th was an occasion for recognizing the work of this commission. I'll also just note that our former chair of the Civilian Oversight Commission, Sean Kennedy, was recognized in reporting about that in many legal publications in the state, and the headlines earned by that ruling recognize the work and its relevance to the work of this commission, in addition to some of the service by key leaders on this commission that have sought to bring oversight and accountability and the subpoena authority of oversight commissions greater respect and compliance. On a related note, the commission continues to work to update our own ordinance. The foothold and the cornerstone of our work in Los Angeles County is recognized in county code, and we are looking to update that. And we will note that one of the areas that has been a subject of updating our own ordinance was Measure R, passed by the voters of Los Angeles County 6 years ago. People might remember Measure R for its giving to this body subpoena authority, but one other condition, one other aspect of Measure R that doesn't get much attention is that it removed a precondition for compliance with an MOU at the county level from our ordinance. So this issue of preconditioning the work of oversight commissions, preconditioning the authority of oversight commissions on any local MOU is actually something that this commission has been dealing with for many years. And we did that in Measure R, removing that MOU reference from our ordinance. And now we have an appeal court, Court of Appeal ruling that you cannot precondition local government's compliance with state law on a local labor-related MOU. I'll just note that we have had some updates on the meet and confer, the lengthy list of meet and confer discussions going on with the Sheriff's Department. We had an update that there were 46 items in meet and confer discussions. I would just want that to be taken in by anyone who has maintained a shopping list, a to-do list, or a task list that may involve 46 items. It's a very lengthy list of discussion items. Well, it turns out that by comparison with a more recent update, it actually appears there are 59 open MOU, open meet and confer items, involving the Sheriff's Department based on the update going back to January 28th of 2020. Some of those meet and confer discussions involve very, very significant issues involving tasers, deputy background checks, the police banning of exclusive, discriminatory, and secretive deputy clicks, station and unit logos, which include the inflammatory insignia like the Fort Apache logo that's still in use by deputies and others at the East LA station. Video footage and recent reports show deputies wearing that inflammatory insignia on their uniforms. And that was the subject of a 2019 resolution by this very commission. So we just wanted to report as a regular duty of this commission the status of those meet and confer items. And it's, I guess, with some chagrin that we have to report a discrepancy that maybe even the Sheriff's Department is having a difficult time keeping track of all of these open meet and confer discussions. And that 59 is certainly a very weighty number of them, especially on some of the items that might be subject to, shall we say, swifter implementation. And finally, I just want to recognize the good work, again, of commission staff and the participation of commissioners, including Co-Vice Chair Garcia, who was moderator for the forum we did in East LA just last week, that brought a lot of public comment and I think showed the capability of this commission to do hybrid meetings pretty well. I think we had more participation online than in person, but the quality of the questions from participants was really remarkable. And I think it gave this commission a lot of marching orders, if you will, from the quality of those questions about follow-up, including one which we heard today from a public commenter about wellness checks and the importance of real wellness checks, not box checking, not falsification, not retroactive, but real wellness checks in our jails. And we have some follow-up work to do on that forum in partnership with our friends and collaborators with the Civil Brand Commission. We were very pleased to be joined by the Civil Brand Commission's chair, Haley Broder, for that forum. And we were very pleased to be joined by survivors, 2 surviving moms of men whose lives were lost in custody, joined us for that discussion. And some of the calmly delivered but very clear insights from those parents are part of the marching orders for this commission and following up on that. So much so that we expect to do another in custody deaths forum that we will report action on and follow up on, not talk, not blather, not kicking a can up the road, but real follow up and insistence in partnership with the sheriff's department on some items where we can, and pushing where we may not have full agreement with the department yet on that follow-up. But I once again want to thank the commission staff for the quality of that gathering and the follow-up that results from that very high quality discussion that's evidence-based. As a point of fact, I just want to make reference again to the chart on in custody deaths provided by this commission. Again, one of the roles of this commission is to try to present data, to crystallize data in ways that can be useful to the community, not simply to us and our work, not simply to us and our job of reporting that at our monthly meetings, but to the community as a reference point, as a chance to measure and to bring together sometimes esoteric data, hard to locate data sometimes. And we are providing this chart, I think, once again, connected to this agenda for the COC's meeting. And I want to thank the staff for providing this, because we have seen an increase in the number of in-custody deaths. There are very important questions about that rising number, and it is something that this commission is taking a sustained look at. This is not a commission that engages in box checking. We will not engage in simply passing things off or kicking cans up the road. Even with our limited resources, we intend to do what we can to make an impact and to provide crumbs and evidence for other partner agencies, including county partners, to look at carefully and to act on. That is something that we are deeply committed to, even given the constraints of our time, budget, and staffing. With that, I want to recognize the opportunity for public comment. Do we have any public comment on 8A or 8B?
We have 2 people signed up for public comment. Our first is from Joshua Goodman. And our second is from Jacqueline Venters. If you can please queue up her. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Goodman. I'm a senior deputy county counsel specializing in labor relations in the Office of the County Counsel. I'm commenting today on behalf of my office regarding the County of Sonoma case, because it has come to our attention that Chair Johnson has a legal interpretation of the case that is not supported by the actual language. On March 26, 2026, the California Court of Appeal issued a decision, Independent Office of Law Enforcement Review and Outreach versus the County of Sonoma. In that case, the Independent Office of Law Enforcement Review and Outreach, established by Sonoma County, served subpoenas on certain sheriff's employees, and the employees did not comply. The independent office brought legal action to enforce the subpoenas. Chair Johnson has interpreted the case to mean that oversight bodies may use their subpoena power without meeting and conferring with the relevant unions. However, the decision does not reach this conclusion. Specifically, the County of Sonoma case does not address the issue of whether the employer was required to meet and confer with the relevant union about the impacts of the issuance of the subpoena. The main dispute in that case was whether the independent office had subpoena power. The court found that the entity did have such power. In our county, it's undisputed that the Civilian Oversight Commission and the Office of Inspector General do have subpoena power. That power in and of itself has not been challenged by the county unions. The issue we have faced in our county is whether the county is required to meet and confer about the impacts of the new oversight laws, such as Measure R and Government Code Section 25303.7. As I have shared in public comment before, the LA County Employee Relations Commissions, the Superior Court, and the California Appellate Court have all ruled that the county is required to meet and confer regarding the impacts and effects of the new laws. For example, in a 2024 Court of Appeal decision, Association for Los Angeles Deputy Sheriffs versus the County of Los Angeles, the court held as follows. The OIG's decision to implement Penal Code Section 13670 is not subject to bargaining, but the effects of that decision and the manner in which the county implements that decision are. There's no question that the COC has.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Jacqueline Venters.
Okay, I'm glad that you guys have been given subpoena power, but will they comply? We know in the past that the Sheriff Department have been so disrespectful to not just the COC, but Board of Supervisor, Office of Inspector General, and other agencies without complying to the subpoenas. And a lot of these in custody deaths, they're not accidents. You know, when my son was in there, the deputies beat him. They allowed the inmates to beat him. They denied him medication, showers, and so many things that these deputies are allowed to get away with. And these things have to stop because there's so many families that have been hurt by this, and they don't know how to fight. They don't know how to come up here and speak on the challenges that they have been enduring, just trying to get some help. And you guys know I've been coming here. I've been coming here for years trying to get some help. And God helped me. My son is home today after fighting for 14 years. I didn't get no help from nobody but him above. Every agency that I went to, I got documentations where all of them had the same information of corruption, attempted murder, so many things. And our sheriff is gone. Parents get up here again. Like I said, he never stayed long enough to hear the cries of the people that has been affected by the unjust system. And it's time to change this, you guys. It's time to change.
Thank you. We have 2 online public comments. The first is from Yusuf Miller. Yusuf, you've been unmuted.
Justice Coalition, Saving Lives in Custody, California. And what good is subpoena power if you can't enforce it? We need subpoena power, and we need it to be enforced. So whatever mechanism we need to make sure that this is a reality, we should take. I don't think the question is whether you have to meet and confer when it comes to the law. The law is that you have the ability and you have the power to subpoena. Now that power needs to be supported by all the powers that be. So this dancing around, meet and confer and coming about the impacts, that can go, of course, but the subpoena power has to be upheld. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final online public comment is from Deanna Brock. Deanna, you've been unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, hi.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm concerned about is that if everyone really wants transparency, why are these subpoenas being fought? And also, the reason that they're even needed is because these organizations police themselves. My son, Emmett Brock, was beat by a sheriff's deputy and then arrested for 3 felonies and a misdemeanor. He also lied to the FBI. And in regards to people not being named in honor of those other people that didn't have that information, we were able to get that. In my son's case, the Norwalk Sheriff's Department were all involved in a cover-up, and they even said that my son's injuries were because of his own actions. So that involved Deputy Joseph Benza, who was the deputy that beat my son, and he is now being charged by the FBI and has lost his job, but also Captain Christopher L. Johnson, Sergeant Thomas Spinks, Sergeant Raymond Munoz, Sergeant Jeremiah Fletcher, Commander Alan Castellano, and Deputy Cecilia Hernandez, all from the Norwalk Sheriff Station, were involved in a cover-up. Those names should be out there. It shouldn't be that everything is thwarted by this meet and confer delay. It's not right. We have these oversight bodies so that they can help make sure that there's transparency, and then they're stopped at every turn. these subpoenas that have been put in for my son, Emmett Brock, for Joseph Perez, for Andres Guardado, these were put in, I think, 2 years ago for some of this, and it's fought at every single thing. If you want transparency, why are you fighting it? Stop delaying it.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.
Thank you, Robert. Before we move on, I just do want to give a chance for any last comments by commissioners. Commissioner Newhouse.
Thank you. And I appreciate Mr. Goodman appearing here today. He's an eloquent and highly trained counsel for county council. But I have to say, Mr. Goodman, I know this is not a dialogue between us, but
can you speak into the microphone, please?
It seems to be on. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Nope. Pick it up.
Seems to be on. Okay.
There we go.
Some people say it's better when they don't hear me, but Mr. Goodman, we appreciate your coming. I have to say two things. First of all, for the edification of this group, there is a dispute, a legal dispute between this commission, the legal ad hoc committee, and county council. And it's a legitimate legal dispute. I appreciated Mr. Goodman's comments here today in public because his office wrote us a memorandum setting forth essentially what Mr. Goodman just said. We don't necessarily agree with, but telling us that this was attorney-client privileged and that we were not to discuss it in a public forum. And I have to say, for the record, Mr. Goodman, I believe that your comments today, which we appreciate, I disagree with, is a waiver of that attorney-client privilege. And it's inappropriate for county council to hide behind the attorney-client privilege when there's nothing confidential in this dispute. And so that memorandum that your office sent us, that it explicitly told us we could not disclose in the public, that needs to be retracted. Again, there's a lot of talk about transparency, and that is our objective, transparency. But when you give a client, which you're calling us a client, advice in a memorandum that you then said is privileged and we cannot disclose it, only the Board of Supervisors can, basically you're using attorney-client privilege to obscure and hide the issue. This is a legitimate issue. It's been highlighted by this Court of Appeals decision, which is actually the first district. Whether that applies to us is something we can disagree on. And at the moment, there is a key dispute between this commission and county council over our inability to enforce any of the subpoenas that we've issued. And this was referenced actually by, I didn't get this gentleman's name, but our public caller mentioned, look, it's absolutely right. Without the power to enforce the subpoenas, folks, we do not have the power to subpoena. And if that process, as currently is the advice of county council, cannot be enforced until after a lengthy, years-long process of what appears to us to be endless meet and confers, that power of subpoena is denied. And if we do not have the power to issue subpoenas and to enforce the subpoenas, there are 3 existing subpoenas that we would like to enforce. We effectively do not have subpoena power. And that means that accountability suffers, and that means our ability to reach recommendations. We're not making any decisions, as you all know, with regard to discipline, and we don't make findings about what happens. But our role, once we receive the power to issue subpoenas, is to advise the Sheriff's Department on their policies. And at the moment, that is being frustrated. That is being denied. And that means that transparency and our ability to perform effective oversight is essentially shut down. And no one from county council has informed us about how long they think this meet and confer process. And again, folks, they want us to meet and confer before the issuance of a subpoena. Okay, I've issued lots of subpoenas as an attorney over the years. I've never seen a requirement to meet and confer with your adversary prior to issuing the subpoena. It doesn't make any sense. So with that, I just wanted to comment on Mr. Goodman's presentation. And again, I repeat, I renew our call for county council to unseal that, quote, privileged document so we can air this in the public and have a public discussion about these issues, which are legitimate issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for your comments about the use of attorney-client privilege as a weapon and not as a shield. And thank you also for your humble opinion, which I know you give on occasion, even when it's not humble.
There's nothing humble about my,
Thank you.
but I
Thank you.
try.
With that, I just want to note that we are also, we delivered to the Sheriff's Department a message of concern, if not a formal complaint, about information reported by community members in Palmdale about recent jailing of 2 members of the community and lack of access to food, lack of access to women's hygiene products, lack of access to shoes, lack of access to telephone and ability to alert family members. We have not yet received follow-up about that message of concern, if not a complaint, but we do hope to have follow-up from the department and look forward to making a report back to the community about that message of concern about 2 young people recently arrested and jailed and released with no charges issued, but denied food, access to the telephone, shoes, and feminine hygiene products. Very worrisome report and one that we hope to provide some follow-up on. With that, I want to ask if we can hear from and shift gears momentarily to our reports from partner agencies. I know we are not joined today by the Civil Brand Commission, but we are joined today by a representative from the Office of Inspector General. And so with that, I would welcome a report by Dara Williams on behalf of the Office of Inspector General.
Morning. Did you want me to?
Microphone.
Right. Did you want me to talk about the use of force of body worn camera now, or do you just want a general overview? Okay.
Sure, let's do both.
Okay. As was noted, we did appear at the Board of Supervisors on April 7th. That meeting is recorded. So anybody who wants to hear the comments about the deputy gang investigations, I suggest that you go and listen to that. It was thankfully the last item, so you can fast forward. We did a very lengthy report on the Sheriff's Department use of force policy. It's really, really deep in the weeds. So for anybody who's not a policy wonk, you're probably not very interested in reading about it. But I think what's really noteworthy about it are the recommendations at the end, which get to really the specific recommendations that the Office of Inspector General makes. And that's based on the law and also based on best practices. There's really needs to be some clarification between the distinction between deadly and non-deadly force. It's very difficult to define those things other than to say that force that doesn't end in serious injury or death might be non-deadly force. But we've tried in the report to, really sort of split hairs and make sure that the people who are following these policies really understand the policies and specifically the requirement to de-escalate. And that requirement really is not just at the moment of force. And that's what's really important, is that all of the events leading up to the force. What we see in many of the shootings, which I think get the most high profile reviews, because there's a critical incident review immediately afterwards, and then eventually there's an executive force review. What we see is that a lot of times it's the tactics leading up to the shooting that basically put everybody in a corner at that point. And then at that juncture, the shooting might be, quote, justified. But the de-escalation, the time and the distance that should be implemented during the course of events that lead up to the shooting, sometimes resulting in the shooting of a mentally ill person. And there was recently just a $6.5 million settlement for a shooting of someone who was wielding a sword. But the tactics that led up to those shooting, that shooting and other shootings, are often problematic. And it's the failure to de-escalate up into that point that are often the reasons that these cases have to be settled, because the shooting really could have been avoided had the tactics leading up to that shooting been better. And so the policy just really needs to emphasize that de-escalation is required, that it's mandated. And also the training needs to emphasize how de-escalation should and must occur during the entire course of events. In our 17 recommendations, those are sort of the things that I would say our report focuses on. And I would encourage people to go read our report. All of our reports are online. And rather than go through all of the, really digging into the weeds on this policy, I would encourage people who just want to get the sense of what we recommend to read those 17 recommendations. Now, the Sheriff's Department met and conferred on this use of force policy for years. It was quite a period of time before they could actually enforce it, because people have to be trained on it. And so the likelihood of the Sheriff's Department going back and meeting and conferring to, what I would say, refine the policy in a way that I think best suits the, avoiding shootings, and that is really best suits what the community is asking for. I don't know that that's going to happen anytime soon, but the Office of Inspector General does encourage the Sheriff's Department to train on some of the things that we discussed, to reiterate what the policy really should say, and also to consider going back to the table and making the adjustments that the Office of Inspector General recommended. I'm happy to take questions on it. Anybody can call our office, and I'm happy to discuss it with anybody, any member of the public who wishes to discuss it, or with any of the commissioners if they want to ask questions. With regard to body-worn cameras, we are still reporting on body-worn cameras, which I thought we might not be reporting on, but now there are body-worn cameras in custody. And so we are, in fact, still implementing body-worn cameras in the County of Los Angeles. Okay. The Sheriff's Department updated its custody division manual, and with regard to body-worn camera deployment, and the regular body-worn camera policies in the Manual of Policy and Procedures applies to these deputies as well. A lot of the problems with rolling them out in custody is the infrastructure upgrades that need to be implemented. As we all know, these facilities are aging. They weren't designed in the time of the availability of the internet. And so there have to be upgrades in order to install what's needed for the cameras, specifically docking station, because each day when a deputy is done with their shift, they have to dock their cameras so that the uploads get stored into the cloud, which is maintained by a company, and that the website where they're all maintained, the cloud, is evidence.com. Office of Inspector General does have access to evidence.com, so we are able to look at body-worn camera. We don't really have the staff to do a sort of audit of all body-worn camera, but the Sheriff's Department does have audit procedures in place. In the past, we've suggested that randomized audits that go beyond what their policy allow for would be a welcome addition to the body-worn camera policy. Because, for instance, if audits show misconduct, that's something that the department should be able to address through misconduct investigations, and the audits don't really focus on that. So we would like to note, though, that when the cameras are first implemented, there are oftentimes, there's forgetfulness, right? This is muscle memory. The people on patrol, we now expect them to have the muscle memory to press their camera when they need to. And it's really easy in patrol to have a bright line for when that should happen, right? So you're in your patrol car, you get out to have a citizen engagement, you hit the body worn camera button. You are in your patrol car, you get a call for service, you hit the body worn camera button, right? And then it goes back for a minute, I believe. We've suggested that 2 minutes might be better. LAPD goes back 2 minutes. The 2 minutes that it goes back, so the way it works is the cameras are continually recording, right? So what it does is preserves the 1 minute prior to the camera being activated. That 1 minute does not have audio, but from the time the camera is activated, that audio is engaged. In a custodial setting, the bright line for that is a little bit different. And many people, this is essentially their home. So there are privacy issues that don't exist in the non-custodial setting. So we're just going to have to see how it really plays out. You know, how useful are the cameras in a custodial setting as compared to in a patrol setting where there's a bright line. But we do have to give the deputies some grace for, and generally it's a 90-day grace period. And the Office of Inspector General staff were very understanding that this is something that you have to get used to. And if you have not had a camera assigned to you before, there's a period of adjustment that we expect to see. So we wouldn't criticize people for instance, in the first 90 days, not activating the camera when they should. And like I said, we're sort of in a gray area about activation in custody that doesn't exist in patrol. So we're just going to have to see how that plays out. And the Office of Inspector General will report on that as we have with regard to the patrol implementation.
Okay. Do you wish to make any additional comments about the report at the last meeting, about the naming of specific deputy gangs, about your participation in the Board of Supervisors meeting on April 7th? Any follow-up from that you'd like to give, or any underscoring you'd like to provide for this gathering?
What I will say is that at the meeting, we acknowledge that the naming of these groups is extremely important, and updating that the deputy, we don't like to call it cliques because we think that sounds like high school. So we prefer deputy secret subgroups. People at OIG, the interim inspector general, myself and our staff, we agree that what's very important is that these subgroups should not be allowed to exist, and that the existing policy that Sheriff Villanueva put in place, I would like to say he met and conferred on that for, I think, 2 months. And he did put that policy in place. It was not a strong policy, and that is likely why it took him less time to meet and confer on it. But that policy has to be strengthened so that people know that they can't join secret subgroups. We believe that the county is in a strong position to defend that, and that prohibiting people from joining secret subgroups is something that the Sheriff's Department can do. I will say that, you know, the possibility exists that the county could just make it a policy for everyone in the county, right? And then the county could either meet and confer with the unions prior to doing that, or they could implement that policy and then meet and confer on the effects of that policy. So it wouldn't completely alleviate the requirement for meeting and conferring, but it might get us to where we want faster. So I don't know if that's something, I mean, county council would really have to be on board. The DHR, Department of Human Resources, would have to be on board, but it is something that could be done for everybody in the county, regardless of where the primary problem for that exists. We certainly shouldn't have secret subgroups at Department of Health Services, or, you know, Human Resources, or OIG, or any place else, right? So the county could certainly do that. The other thing is that the penal code section that prohibits deputy gangs. It prohibits law enforcement gangs, so just to be clear. However, the preamble to that, when it was passed, was specifically mentioned the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. So I think we all know that that was the main concern of the legislation. That requires that there be misconduct by the group. And as I said at the Board of Supervisors meeting, many of those areas might be difficult to prove, having that applicable to the entire group, right? But there's one thing that, as I described it, is low-hanging fruit. And that low-hanging fruit is that there can't be essentially discrimination. So that if the Sheriff's Department has a list of the people who are members of that deputy group, and you see that everybody in the group is a male, then there's discrimination. And that is the easiest way to identify a group as violating 13670. I also do want to point out that there's some people, including some candidates for sheriff, who not Sheriff Luna, to be clear, not Sheriff Luna. He has not ever said this, but a member of POPA said it, and other candidates for sheriff. And to be very clear, I do not believe that Sheriff Luna has this misunderstanding at all. But there's been claims that no one's been prosecuted under this section, and so therefore, obviously, these deputy gangs don't exist. But it's not prosecutable. In the code section, what it says is that the information is reported to Post, and Post can decertify people, but it's not a crime in the sense of it being something that is prosecutable. It's simply that the members of these groups can be decertified by Post, which is the state commission that oversees law enforcement policy and accountability. So, and then one quick thing about the meet and confer, and I know this is a big issue, but obviously I would be very happy if Alero, if I'm saying that right, applies to us. But one impediment that we have is that we did get sued, and those cases are not helpful to us. But I'm certainly hopeful that if nothing else, that this can move the meet and confer process forward. I think it's really important that these same issues have been on the table for 3 years. And so knowing that these same issues have been on the table for 3 years, regardless of whether, regardless of who's right, shall we say, the process has to speed up. Like, we can't go for another 3 years meeting and conferring on issues that at least the Office of Inspector General and the COC have been involved in negotiations for 3 years on Measure R, right? So we need to be in a better position. And I believe that, am I correct that the list of meet and confer that you got from the Sheriff's Department, will be a public document?
Yes.
I think it's noteworthy that on that list that many of the notations regarding meet and confer is that they've been emails. And so we can't meet and confer by email. Like, that does not work. So when the sheriff says we've been in discussions, emails are not discussions, right? I mean, look, I'm all for emails. I prefer emails to meetings. But if you're trying to negotiate, which we all call it meet and confer, but what these are labor negotiations. You don't do labor negotiations by email. You do labor negotiations by sitting in a room and discussing things and hammering out the differences and making the unions understand that this is state law, and so it's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen sooner rather than later, there will be a last, best, and final offer.
Yes.
Now, one disadvantage that OIG and the COC have is that it's the sheriff's policy. So we have some control because we're in the room, but in the end, it's the sheriff's policy. And so the sheriff has to be the one to basically say it's the last, best, and final offer and what that offer is going to be. Once again, I get back to if DHR makes it a policy that applies to everybody in the whole county, then that takes it out of one department head's hands, right? So I think that's another avenue to explore.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. With that, I want to shift to the second aspect of this section, which is about reports from our own ad hocs before we take a break. I want to just ask if we have reports from the Budget Ad Hoc Committee from Commissioner Harris.
Yeah, quickly, the commission transmitted letters in the adopted budget staff report to both the LASD and the CEO's office outlining our adopted recommendations on the department's fiscal year 26-27 budget priorities and unmet needs. Both departments acknowledged receipt of the correspondence, but we have not yet received formal responses. Staff will continue to monitor and report back to the ad hoc once responses are received. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Do we have a report from the Complaints Ad Hoc Committee chaired by Co-Vice Chair Callaway?
There's two things working, which is an internal complaint tracking process that's being developed by IT. And we will be meeting next month to discuss the progress on that. And then also us trying to figure out how we're going to help alleviate the stalling with being able to review complaints as a whole is going to be discussed as well.
Thank you for that.
Could I just interject that OIG would very much like to be involved with the Complaints Ad Hoc Committee since we handle complaints, and I think it might be helpful for us to go to those meetings.
Yes, and we welcome the participation of county partners in our ad hocs. So that is a strong yes and an encouragement to engage as early as possible rather than late and to make the gears of good oversight mesh. I'll just note on behalf of the Governance Ad Hoc Committee that we will be tackling the proposal about tracking of resolutions and motions from the supervisors for action by our ad hocs at the May 21st meeting and in the run up to it. I encourage commissioners who haven't from the ad hoc to provide comments, which I will also welcome warmly. Taking that also to the discipline process ad hoc. Commissioner Hicks, is there a report from that ad hoc?
No report for the discipline ad hoc.
Okay. Is there a report from the Deputy Gangs and Deputy Clicks Ad Hoc Committee?
I will just say that based upon the discussion here today, the ad hoc will be scheduling a meeting in the not too distant future for a number of different topics that have been brought up here. I do appreciate the April 7th Board of Supervisors presentation. I think a lot of good information was gleaned from that. I also appreciated the public comment that was provided then. It was nice to hear some of the voices, some of the same voices we hear here, that we hear at this venue. And it was good to hear how they are impacted by the deputy gang situation. So that ad hoc will be convening in the not too distant future to go over some of the things that have been discussed here today. So I won't belabor the point at this point.
Thank you. That we will also note the 3-year mark since this commission's report, which the sheriff referenced in his remarks earlier today with the 27 recommendations. And we are expecting a follow-up report. I believe Dr. Bakilo Ochoa, our Deputy Executive Director, is working on that. And we may have that forthcoming for the May agenda. Jail staffing and conditions ad hoc committee. Let's see, I think we just want to underscore the effectiveness of the forum last Thursday and the fact that Commissioner Cooper was there. Do you have any additional remarks, Commissioner Cooper, from the ad hoc and about the possibility of a second such forum?
Yes, most of it has been discussed already, but I just want the family members to know that we still need you to give us information of what you are experiencing. We know that we're collecting the data, but we also know behind this data, there's a human life. And we do want to get more transparency and information from the medical examiner and the coroner to you in a more timely manner, because a lot of that unknown is just not fair to family members. And we also want you to understand that we know a lot of these numbers, the people who lose their lives have not, and I mean not, been convicted of a crime. So that is really important, that they should not be losing their lives because they're innocent until proven guilty. So we do have a lot of work and we need your help in us being able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Cooper. The legal ad hoc, I believe, has a resolution coming forward later on the agenda. Any additional report from Commissioner Hicks?
Outside of the 11C motion and Mr. Newhouse's wonderful comments, the legal ad hoc has no other information.
Thank you. And I would ask Co-Vice Chair Garcia, is there a report from the Protection of Media and Demonstrations ad hoc? Microphone?
The ad hoc received the LASD's draft media policy for the committee's feedback, and the ad hoc committee provided its feedback.
We should also just note that there was a development recently involving the blinding of a community member in a contested circumstance involving federal agents here in Los Angeles. And I just want to note that while our jurisdiction is technically limited to LASD activities, we have all faced a huge challenge over the past 10 months in particular, involving what Supervisor Hahn calls the federal invasion of Los Angeles County. While that technically may be concluded in its severest forms, we still deal with unaccountable masked federal agents in our county, and we're dealing with non-compliance with what appear to be actions and firing on civilians that do not comply with recent court rulings. And it is something that this commission needs to take seriously, especially in light of the work of this ad hoc, and especially in light of the ruling of my predecessor in this role is the representative of the 1st District on this commission, now a federal judge, having ruled about the importance of safeguarding both journalists and members of the public from munitions being used wrongly that violate the Constitution here in LA County. So this is something that we will continue to look at to try to safeguard not only First Amendment freedoms, but the health and safety and dignity of Angelenos more broadly in the work of this ad hoc. And finally, on behalf of the Technology Ad Hoc Committee, I just note that we do have a date for the automated license plate reader forum. It will be done online on Wednesday, May 6th, I think from 5:30 to 7. And we look forward to the participation of the public. Please mark your calendars for that date. We will help spread the word as a commission about that outgrowth of the Technology Committee's, ad hoc committee's work. With that, I believe we have covered the ad hocs. I want to ask, is there any public comment on these items? Mr. Flores.
Yes, we have one public comment from Jacqueline Venters. If you could please take the podium.
Deputy gangs, jump out boys. That was the deputy Gonzalez Zuza who shot my son 5 times in the back, and their motive is don't ask questions, just shoot. I had the opportunity to go back to the crime scene, which I had never been, and it was traumatic, very traumatic. Both of these deputies, him and his partner, need to be up under the jail. You guys, I have so much information. If y'all was here when I pulled that wagon in here, all these are facts. And there's no way that this deputy still should be walking. He should be in jail. 3 murders, 2 victims shot in the back. No accountability. You guys, they know these deputy gangs exist. And it has been a cover-up for years and years and years. Chief Gooden sit there before, and he was the captain at that station at that time. He was my friend. I was over one of the YLs that he was over during that time, and I refused to tell him that that was my son until 2018, when the podcast came out that got over 1 million downloads. He told me this deputy would never be back out on the field. He'll be on desk duty. This in 2018. My son was shot in 2011. So that tells you this deputy's behaviors from 2011 to 2018, and he was still on the force. No accountability, you guys, and they know that these deputy gangs exist. And I'm gonna stand here and fight for my son and the other 3 victims that was murdered by this deputy until some justice is done.
Thank you, Ms. Venners. We exist in part so that family members do not have to bring a wagon load of documents and evidence repeatedly to forums, this and others in Los Angeles County, to get action and to get meaningful oversight. With that, we will be in recess.
Chair Johnson, we have 2 online.
Oh, I'm sorry.
comments.
I'm sorry. Let's continue, please.
Our first is from Anastasia. You have been unmuted.
Hello, my name is Anastasia Kamarask, and I'm sorry for the shooting of the previous speaker's son. I don't know what to say. It's good that we get to see this stuff online, because a person like myself, a journalist and running for governor of California, it's important for us to know, and I'm very happy to see this meeting online. But at the same time, resolution needs to be done. We need to get resolution, and we need to get stuff done for the people. And so we, the people, probably demand better oversight of our sheriff department. Now, the sheriff is doing a good job, better than has been before, but obviously it can be done even more. And so I just wanted to just chime in, is if you want better governance, you need to elect it and do it on June 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Yusuf Miller. Yusuf, you've been unmuted.
Hello, Yusuf Miller, Stabilized in Custody, California. And 2 points. I think we have an opportunity to sharpen up our policy for protesters, that especially when it comes to the federal forces that have been enforced on different places around the country. And what happens with these federal forces, although that you don't have jurisdiction over them, they call our sheriffs and police departments to police for them, for their quote unquote protection. And then it involves and engages our local law enforcement with this federal enforcement of harassing our Latinx brothers and sisters. So it is something that we need to take the opportunity to look at and evaluate. How do we manage and oversee our cooperation, even if it's not on legal paperwork as cooperation, but the close proximity of law enforcement and the federal government when it comes to protests to the overreach. And number 2, we cannot sweep under the rug the high in custody death rate of last year in LA County jails. And as Stabilized in Custody, California, as the wonderful commissioner just mentioned, the people who die before trial, they die innocent. And we have, throughout the state, people are dying unnecessarily weeks into being in custody before their first day in jail, which means they died innocent. So we are fighting for the innocent in their lost life in this work. Please never forget that. And thank you.
Thank you. Our next Online public comment is from Cindy Nunez. Cindy, you can go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, so I'm Cindy Nunez. I just wanted to thank Commissioner Cooper. Thank you for reminding us families, impacted families, that our voice matters and you guys still want us to show up. But it's also very difficult that our other commissioners on this board are saying how jail conditions are very different. I actually have my hello.
Now we can hear you again.
Okay, I was muted, sorry. Yeah, so I just wanted to quickly again thank Commissioner Cooper for reminding us families that we matter and to still show up. But again, it also does matter when we have other commissioners on that table stating otherwise. I do have my nephew in current custody right now with LASD, Francisco's son, and the food is horrible in there. And my understanding, officers eat way better than the actual inmates. So for him to disregard comments from actual inmates relating messages to their family members, it's actually disrespectful and it is impartial. So I just want to thank this commission again. We are the voices of our families that were taken from us and we're innocent and now we're the voice. And I'm a county employee myself and I have 2 years of evidence of harassment and retaliation from other coworkers and nothing has been done by LASD. So Luna did come into this position knowing the reality of deputy gangs. So it is on his plate as he did pledge that he would end the deputy gangs. So we're hoping that he would do it and clearly he did it. So thank you.
Thank you. Our final public comment is from Deanna Brock. Deanna, you've been unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to say I'm taking issue with community members that are making comments in regards to that they are campaigning. I do not think that this is a forum to talk about personal political campaigning. And I think if they want to make a comment that's sincere, make a comment, but leave out the part that you're running for something. Otherwise, I feel that you're not here in a sincere manner. And to me, it looks bad. You know, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know who you are, but I'm not even interested in looking into you as a candidate because you are coming into this forum without, you know, really any sincere comments in regards to wanting to make change. Where have you been otherwise? And yes, we welcome comments. Say what you have to say, but leave out the campaigning part. Then I would know you're sincere. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Johnson, that concludes public comment.
And anyone who doubts that democracy can be self-correcting should just listen to our previous public comments. So thank you so much. We will be in recess until 11:20. 11:20, we'll be back.
For the client, you could.
We are coming back from recess.
To waive.
I want to thank Commissioner Giggins for her distribution of Sexual Assault Awareness Month pins, including recognition of Denim Day and the forthcoming rally on April 29th. And I want to thank all of the attendees who are here, who are invited to join in that rally, as well as all other SAAM activities. As we resume, I wanted to just move to the point on the agenda, which is that we have a postponement from this agenda involving the Johnson Settlement Agreement and the LASD's compliance with it. As noted earlier, we do try to keep a regular tracker of the settlements involving the LASD and compliance or reports on compliance with those agreements. This Johnson Settlement Agreement was next on our list. We had expectation of being able to move forward, but we will be doing this for fuller participation in it at our May 21st meeting. With that, I want to move to item 10B. 10B is the educational presentation by the Sheriff's Department on the strengthening accountability and significantly decreasing jail deaths in LA County, which was taken by the Board of Supervisors on March 3rd of this year. The board motion was adopted in response to the continued in-custody deaths increase. Some have called it a crisis of in-custody deaths, and that we are looking for an immediate action and more accountability to reduce jail deaths. The motion directs work in several areas. I just want to highlight 4 of them: preventing contraband, overdoses, and improving facility security, which includes screening and entry controls, better monitoring, and functionality of the closed circuit television, strengthening Title 15 safety checks and supervision, improving emergency response readiness. That means that the equipment should be available and be inspected, and that there be prompt inspections of cells and other facilities, and that their correction health services focus more on treatment and prevention, that there be some measurement and reporting on that. With that background, I just wanted to ask whom we have here from the Sheriff's Department. Is Commander Christine Coles with us? Excellent. Commander Coles, thank you for taking part in this discussion. We look forward to your presentation, and I think it's queued up. The floor is yours when you are willing.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christine Coles. I'm a commander in the Custody Services Division, and I have command of Custody Compliance and Sustainability Bureau. So that bureau is in charge of monitoring our progress, the Custody Division's progress on 3 of our 4 settlement agreements. I don't have a formal presentation for you today. However, as far as the board motion, I just wanted to inform the committee and the members of the community that are here today that the Custody Division is actively meeting on all of the criteria for the motion. It was very expansive. There was a lot of detail in the motion, and it involved a lot of partner agencies and bureaus. And so it is a large task to address all of the issues in the motion. So last week, we started meeting with other bureaus that are involved in this motion. And we are scheduled to meet every 2 weeks to discuss some of the common issues that we've identified and that the Board of Supervisors asked us to address. So although I don't have specific progress to report at this time, we are actively meeting, and we have already had our first meeting. And for every 2 weeks, we anticipate coming together as a working group in order to strategize and determine how we're going to respond to the board motion.
Is there any follow-up on any particular point that you find noteworthy or worth elevating before this commission about the work so far, or an area that you have a particular focus on, or that your own background speaks to in a way that should be informative to this commission?
I think one of the areas that well, there are multiple areas I can touch on, although we don't have detailed progress to report yet. However, the Board of Supervisors requested us to analyze whether or not we could utilize security equipment such as body scanners to screen employees, vendors, anyone that's coming inside the jail who is not incarcerated. Currently, we don't do any type of airport scanning. Like if you go to the airport, you're getting a full body scan. However, we don't do that for non-incarcerated people that are entering the jails. So one thing I can speak to is that the department has been looking for quite some time at technology that we can utilize in this setting related to our employees. However, as the committee had spoken to in detail, there are a lot of meet and confers that the department is actively involved in, and unfortunately, this type of thing would also be a meet and confer issue. So we are looking at technology, although we haven't presented anything to the board for funding and haven't specifically identified which technology would be most effective and least intrusive to the employees and to the public members that are entering the facilities. I can also speak to number 2 on the board motion. The vulnerability assessments have been conducted. However, we do have recommendations from the vulnerability assessments. I don't have the details of those recommendations that were made. However, they are being evaluated and reviewed to see what the feasibility is of some of those recommendations. Also, I can report that related to the Title 15 safety check policies, that we recently, the division, I think at the end of 2025, developed a new policy regarding accountability for the quality of Title 15 safety checks. That policy was already rolled out. Employees are being trained on it, and the accountability pushes up to the level of a supervisor that they need to more closely monitor what their employees are doing during their Title 15 safety checks in order to ensure that inmates are safe in their cells. And also there are some items on the motion, related to, CCTV, and increasing the number of cameras that are being utilized in the division to monitor areas where traditionally, like the CCTV cameras were funded by the CCJV money, Citizens Commission on Jail Violence. And so many of the cameras were installed in areas where inmates would be observed. However, in areas where we don't traditionally have inmates, we don't really have a lot of CCTV cameras available in order to review footage and determine who's entering and exiting some of our jails. So that's something that we're also currently discussing, beefing up the number of CCTV cameras. We'd have to have additional funding for that. Many of the technology solutions that we're looking into, unfortunately, we may be requesting additional funding from the Board of Supervisors in order to roll those things out or look into those. And I think that's most of the progress that I have to report for you.
One item that did come up at our forum last week on the 9th was the prohibition on use of phones and digital devices in custody settings in the jails by personnel. And this commission has heard testimony. I know the Civil Brand Commission has reported on the use of screens, phones, and other devices by members of the department in jails during inspections, including some very troubling reports of deputies watching porn on devices in jails. How has the department made progress on enforcing its policy against the use of phones and devices and the distracting quality of movies or other programming, shall we say, that maybe members or deputies of the department are watching while on duty in our jails, maybe at the expense of high quality or rigorous safety checks of people in their custody? We talked about that being the home of people incarcerated and the duty of protecting people in their home who have no power of their own. Is there progress to report in that area of enforcing the prohibition on devices and phones?
The progress would be in the sense of accountability. So I could tell you that the department and the custody division lets their employees know that it is unacceptable to perform or to engage in any type of personal activity that's just for personal enjoyment while you're supposed to be actively ensuring the safety of our incarcerated people. So that is the first step, is to let them know that it's unacceptable. We definitely are trying to inform our employees about the consequences of being discovered actually utilizing screen devices, having your personal device in there, and watching movies in order to just avoid your responsibilities. So I think mainly it's accountability and education. It's not that the employees don't know, they're not permitted to do it. However, I believe that we've instituted discipline behind several cases where employees were discovered actually using or watching movies during their shift.
Do you have any idea how many cases? Or ballpark?
I don't want to misspeak on that. So I don't have that data with me, but I know that we have implemented discipline in several cases.
Well, I do just want to follow up because this is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. The use of content in jails by deputies that involve sexually explicit content, or the normalization of that, especially if we are dealing with groups that are all male in nature or that are single sex in nature. Is there awareness in the department of the particularly degrading quality of safety around sexual abuse prevention or reporting, or the protection from retaliation of any incarcerated people who might report, or on any people on duty in uniform who might have to whistleblow on a colleague based on perhaps the normalization or the frequency of sexually explicit content being viewed in custody settings, and how that can affect or degrade the quality of supervision there?
Yes, definitely. I mean, speaking as a woman who's working in a primarily male-dominated field, it can be, I can see it from the other side. And so I would never stand here and say that it's not occurring, because it is. So what I believe we're doing as a department is that we're educating. It could happen from both sexes, right? Both genders. However, I believe we are educating our employees as far as education regarding the sexual safety of our incarcerated people. We are required to brief our personnel on a regular basis regarding PREA, which is the Prison Rape Elimination Act. We do that on a regular basis. They are required to log in, view the video, which is, it's not quick. So they are required to do that, and there is an electronic record that they have done that. In addition, the county and of course the Sheriff's Department also has the policy of equality, and I can speak from experience, at least under my own command, that employees feel free to utilize that process to protect their rights and to protect themselves.
Thank you. I really appreciate your speaking directly about that, and know that that is something that this commission cares about and takes very seriously, and will follow up on, because this is not a one and done. And as I said earlier, this is not a box checking exercise, nor is the training or the application of training to real world situations. And the only way we actually make that more rigorous and more real is by following up on it and having ongoing public discussions that take it from taboo to something that we take action on. So thank you for that. I want to ask, we have the need on this commission to consider applying the same motion that we are tackling here to our own work as a commission, and to take it up through our jail staffing and conditions ad hoc committee, the jail conditions and staffing ad hoc committee more properly. And so I want to ask if we might consider the motion that is before us on our agenda today as commissioners to tack up the same motion that we are asking and working with the department to implement as part of our own work, to assign it formally to the jail conditions and staffing ad hoc committee. And just to reiterate, this is before us on the agenda, and I want to ask, is there a motion by a commissioner to apply this and to take it up formally by our ad hoc? I see. We will not meet and confer over this discussion, but we do wish to take it up as a commission. I feel like I'm moderating a game of musical chairs here, but I do want to ask if there is a commissioner who would make the motion for us to take this up with our ad hoc, because we have action to do on this ourselves. Thank you, Commissioner Cooper. Thank you. What beautiful collegiality we have at that table. So with that, I want to ask, is there any debate about the motion to formally take up the supervisor's motion on jail conditions? Is there any public comment on this item?
Yes, Chair Johnson, we have one online public comment from Anastasia. You have been unmuted.
I do have to ask, does this relate specifically to the motion, or might it be non-germane to the motion?
Germaine, the Germans have nothing to do with this.
Okay, point taken. Thank you very much, commenter. Please proceed.
So listen, okay. So I appreciate you guys putting these meetings online. And so I noticed that Sheriff Luna has left the room, but he's a very busy person. So I'm taking it all in. So just thank you very much. I appreciate you guys putting these meetings online. Thank you.
Hans, can I make a comment?
Yes, thank you.
Me, Dara. I just want to note that I do think that if the Sheriff's Department has a working group, that the COC ad hoc committee should ask to be involved in that working group, and consider this also an official request by OIG to be involved in that working group. I do think that there are portions of the motion that talk about collaboration, and clearly the spirit of the motion is collaboration. I will say that the custody division of the Sheriff's Department, for the most part, is very collaborative with our office.
But I do think that it would be great for members of the COC and OIG to be involved. I don't think that there's a necessity to discuss confidential employee information, so I don't see any impediments to our involvement, at least at least with regard to some of the work group meetings.
I appreciate that, that inclusion because that will help with the workload. Now, we have done some work in the past with our previous chair, Chairman Bonner, in terms of some of the staffing and the staffing mix. So we don't have to start from ground zero. We can just build up on some of the stuff that we've implemented.
And we have a very vigorous checklist of what this motion requires that I'm happy to share with you. There's kind of two parts to it. One is the sort of in custody death part, and one is the narcotics part. So we have that split up between two teams of people, but both of those teams can be available to attend the work group.
Thank you for that offer. The formalization of the ad hoc can take, whatever inclusive measures of consultation that it wishes. But before us now is the motion to approve assigning the commission's follow-up responsibilities to significantly decrease jail deaths to the jail conditions and staffing ad hoc for coordinating and monitoring. There may be implementation that ensues, and we look forward to the action and follow-up reports by this ad hoc committee, however it wishes to constitute itself, and with whatever additional, shall we say, outside or partners participation that ad hoc may initiate or welcome. Is there any additional public comment?
There isn't.
Okay, with that summary, having also restated the motion, I think we are ready for a vote on this motion to assign this area of work and follow-up to the jail conditions and staffing ad hoc.
Okay. Co-Vice Chair Callaway. Commissioner Cooper.
Yes.
Co-Vice Chair Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Kiggins.
Yes.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner Hicks.
Yes.
Commissioner McBride.
Absent.
Absent. Commissioner Newhouse.
Aye.
Chair Johnson.
Yes.
We have 8 ayes and 1 absence.
Excellent. That motion passes 8-0. Thank you to our expert colleagues from the department. Thank you for your consultation and your update here today. With that, I want to recognize that we have before us also the continuity of governance of our own commission, and we have the opportunity to select a new nominations ad hoc committee for the purposes of looking at our officers and continuity of governance this year. The committee members, none of whom would be under consideration for chair or vice chairs, if we choose to continue with the co-vice chair model, would be responsible for selecting a slate of nominees for commission officers to be presented to the full commission at its June meeting, ahead of the commission's annual meeting in July. At the June meeting, the floor will also be open for any commissioners to be nominated for office, in addition to the slate recommended by the nominating committee. The agenda for the annual meeting shall list those commissioners who've accepted nominations for the position of chair and co-vice chairs, if that is the model that we choose to continue with, who will have an opportunity to provide statements on their qualifications. This committee will disband upon the election of the new officers. With that, we should debate the formation of this new ad hoc committee before we proceed with the selection of members of that ad hoc committee. Is there any discussion by commissioners on this ceremonial and regular duty of our own governance? Is there any public comment on this motion, Mr. Flores?
Chair Johnson, who moved the motion?
Thank you. We need a motion to proceed before taking public comments. Yes, who would like to make the motion?
So moved. I'll second.
All right, there we go. That was made by Commissioner Newhouse and seconded by Commissioner Hicks.
And we have one online public comment from Anastasia. You've been unmuted.
Hello, everyone. I know you're hearing much about me, and we're not supposed to be campaigning, but we have to, because you need to know nonpartisan governance is important to what you guys are doing. And I'm watching you guys, and at the same time have to do a lot of other things, like going after bad cops like Sheriff Chad Bianco. So keep up the good work. I'm paying attention. We're recording this, and we're going to turn it around for the general public to be able to watch this. Thank you.
Thank you for that. With public comment having been taken, we are ready to proceed with a vote on the motion. Can you call the roll, please?
Co-Vice Chair Calloway. Commissioner Cooper.
Yes.
Co-Vice Chair Garcia. Commissioner Giggins.
Yes.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner Hicks.
Yes.
Commissioner McBride is absent. Commissioner Newhouse.
Aye.
Chair Johnson.
Yes.
We have 8 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 absence.
Thank you. And with that, we could proceed to staffing this ad hoc committee. I would like to ask, do we have someone who would like to offer to chair this ad hoc committee?
Yes, I will chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Cooper, and thank you for your continuing leadership on this committee in its new iteration. With that, is there any other commissioner who might like to assist Commissioner Cooper and who is, according to the motion, not conflicted by pursuing a role as officer? Is that Commissioner Hicks? Yes. Thank you. Is there any other commissioner who might like to join that committee, that ad hoc committee? Seeing, is that a yes from Commissioner Giggins? Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Giggins. With that, we have no. This is a finite duty. Finite duty. Thank you so much. We welcome the report and work of that ad hoc. With that, we will move on to item number 11C, which is the discussion and approval of a resolution from the Legal Ad Hoc Committee entitled Enforcing Subpoenas and Ensuring Access to Unconflicted Counsel. 11C is discussion and consideration of that resolution, and in summary, that resolution calls on the LASD to comply immediately with the Commission's 3 lawfully issued subpoenas, with a little bit of narrative about how we got to subpoenas because of voluntary non-compliance with the request for information, and calls on the County Council to enforce them. It raises concerns about continued delay or non-enforcement that may reflect a potential conflict given the County Council's dual representation of the Commission and LASD, and a request that the County Council provide the Commission with a clear position by Monday, April 20th, and if needed, provide unconflicted outside counsel or allow the Commission to select its own counsel without delay. Is there any discussion of this item which did come up earlier in our proceedings today? Are there any additional comments that members of the Commission would like to make? Commissioner Newhouse.
Yes, I do have a comment, and in light of the memorandum, which I'm not allowed to discuss per County Council's advice, they have in fact taken a position. Their position is that we're not allowed to. I mean, if I were to discuss it, I might hypothetically say that we're told by County Council that we're not allowed to enforce the 3 subpoenas. So I don't think you need to set a March 20th deadline, sir. With all due respect, County Council's advice to us is clear. And I think on behalf of the Legal Ad Hoc Committee, we respectfully disagree with their analysis and their advice. So I don't think you need a March 20 deadline. We already have that. Sorry, April 20th.
Any other comments by commissioners? I will just note that one of the values of the resolution is that it does put in sequence the events that led up to the filing of the subpoenas in February of last year, including the lawsuit filed by the sheriff against this commission to block enforcement of those subpoenas in March of last year. And it summarizes the recent court holding that is of some legitimate applicability to this issue of the enforcement of subpoenas in the Ialero v. Sonoma ruling, which had as part of its holding that the subpoenas issued by that oversight commission be enforced on that county's sheriff. It was part of the ruling on March 26th, which is incorporated as part of the narrative in the resolution. Any comments by Commissioner?
Mr. Chair, I do have another comment. I respectfully disagree. The sheriff's lawsuit was a lawsuit seeking declaratory relief. So basically they were seeking advice. I don't see that the sheriff's department has taken a position. They initiated that lawsuit to ask a judge to tell them whether or not they could produce the documents in response to the subpoena. And of course, that lawsuit has since been dismissed in light of the passage of AB 847. So that issue is gone.
Thank you. Commissioner Callaway.
So I have a question. We did have counsel that was appointed to us from county council, right? And has that person ever said their position as being, or do they just agree with county council's, the public comment?
That has not, that's not before us right now, but that is, that's a worthwhile question to have outside the framework of this debate. But I do think relevant to the enforcement of these subpoenas that we have insisted again as recently as January that the sheriff comply with, that is a relevant conversation to have under the passage of this resolution. It would,
then additionally, just for my, why did they stop allowing us to use subpoenas? Did they actually have written down anywhere how we used to be able to use the subpoena power and then recently have not been, even though laws have been passed that actually support it even more?
May I address that?
yes, Commissioner Newhouse.
Again, hypothetically, if I were to comment upon a legal memorandum that prohibited my saying this, an analysis, as I understand it, is that we are not allowed to issue a subpoena unless we first conduct a meet and confer with the sheriff's department over and the unions over the issuance of the subpoena. So essentially, that's why my position is, we have been told you can't issue subpoenas. You technically have the power, the legal power, to issue a subpoena, but you can't do it until you meet and confer with ALADS and PPOE, which of course is a years-long process. So unless and until that changes, we do not have effectively the power to issue a subpoena if that position is correct. I do note, hypothetically speaking, of course, since we can't discuss it, that the Legal Ad Hoc Committee disagrees with that interpretation.
Sorry, so I'm just saying we've subpoenaed a person and then it was allowed without the meet and confer. And now that we subpoenaed documents, it needs a meet and confer. I was wondering, where is the analysis to say, why can we do it to a human and not a document? So this is just for the discussion. So as we move forward, like to understand, like, how is a document not a person? I mean, like, what is the difference? To me, you should be able to subpoena both things. And you didn't need the meet and confer for the people. So I'm very much in support.
But you do now need to meet and confer according to some legal advice that we have received.
Yeah, I'm in support of this. I just want to say how ridiculous it is that we're talking about it. Because we used to subpoena people.
Thank you. No disagreement on that point. And I just would note, because of the arguments about legal compliance, California law since January 1st of 2021 states that the chair of the Sheriff Oversight Board shall issue a subpoena in accordance with section 1985 to 1985.4 inclusive of the Code of Civil Procedure whenever the board deems it necessary or important to examine the following. That was from January 1st of 2021. And that authority was reaffirmed in AB 847 effective January 1st of 2026. So there is an aspect of compliance with the law that we as a commission have to be faithful and dutiful in upholding as well. And that is the work of real oversight reflected in state law itself. And with that, I guess I would ask, with comment by the commission having concluded, is there public comment? Actually, we should take a vote on moving the resolution forward. Who votes to, who might vote to move the resolution?
I will so move the resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Newhouse. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Commissioner Giggins. With the motion duly moved and seconded, is there any public comment?
Yes, we have one in-person public comment from Ali Rubenfeld. If you could please take the mic.
Good afternoon, commissioners. The COC subpoena power is currently a fiction. Without enforcement, this commission does not have subpoena power, even though it's been codified in Measure R, California Government Code Section 23303.7, and now AB 847. This discussion itself has been enduring for years. We cannot wait any longer. This commission needs to take legal action that it simply cannot take because county council cannot adequately represent them in such an action. This commission needs independent counsel and it needs it now. Until doing so, and until this commission has subpoena power, it truly cannot fulfill its requirements as an oversight body. Thank you.
Thank you. Our first public comment online is from Deanna Brock. Deanna, you've been unmuted.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
It's so important that the commission is able to have this subpoena power. We filed a complaint of excessive force in regards to my son, Emmett Brock, who was beat by Sheriff's Deputy Joseph Benza out of the Norwalk station. That use of excessive force complaint came back saying that there was no use of excessive force, that his injuries were due to a direct result of his own actions. This complaint was signed off that there was no use of excessive force by the same people that are named in the cover-up out of that Norwalk station. This commission needs to be able to have that subpoena power because you need to know what is going on. There needs to be transparency. How can that have come out that there was no use of excessive force and the video from the 7-Eleven was all over the news in regards to this deputy beating my son? There was audio and video. So obviously there's a cover-up going on. And that's why this whole thing came out, that there needs to be subpoena power. This whole thing about you can't issue the subpoena until meet and confer is over. Well, they just keep stalling. It goes on and on and on. This is never going to end. And we have a law, AB 847, not to mention Measure R, and they're fighting it. I mean, a law is supposed to be a law. I do appreciate Commissioner Newhouse for being on top of this and for speaking up. I do appreciate it. This is so important. County Council also can't represent the interest of the commission and LASD at the same time. This stuff is a serious situation. My son is still going through the damage to his reputation, his physical and mental health. That stuff does not disappear. It is important that there be transparency with these use of excessive force.
Thank you. Our final public comment online is from Raquel Derfler. Raquel, you've been unmuted.
Good morning, afternoon. Well, we're in the afternoon now. Yes, Raquel Derfler, campaign coordinator, would cancel the contract. Just want to say that we here in the community completely support the passage of this resolution, that the COC needs to move forward with any means to enforce its subpoena power given it to them by the voters of LA County, and then basically codified into law by our legislature. So it's clear that LASD, ALADS, and County Council are not motivated to comply with AB 847 quickly enough, and are using the meet and confer process as a way to be an obstructionist type bodies along with County Council itself. Meanwhile, San Diego County has already has moved forward and complied with AB 847 after going through the meet and confer process. So it didn't take them very long. So waiting any longer to initiate legal action only creates more delay. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.
Thank you, Robert. And with that, just to summarize the motion before us, it is to adopt the Legal Ad Hoc Committee resolution. It calls on the county sheriff to comply immediately with the 3 subpoenas. It highlights that any delay, non-response, disregard, or indecision or refusal by LASD to comply with it and by county council to enforce them raises a significant concern of conflict of interest. And in light of the holding of law in Ayalero, that the commission will seek independent counsel or gain access to outside unconflicted counsel forthwith. With that, can we call the roll?
Co-Vice Chair Callaway, Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Co-Vice Chair Garcia, Commissioner Giggins, Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner McBride absent, Commissioner Newhouse,
Aye.
Chair Johnson.
Yes.
With 8 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absence, the motion to approve the Legal Ad Hoc Committee's resolution with the above mentioned recommendations passes.
Thank you very much. And thank you, commissioners, for that debate and robust discussion. Now we will move on, I believe, to item number 12, which is non-agenda public comments. For non-agenda public comments, this is the opportunity for members of the public to address the commission on items that are not before us on the formal agenda. Robert, do we have any people signed up currently for comments on non-agendized items?
Yes, we have in person and online. Our first in-person public comment is from Yvette Correa. If you could please take the podium.
Yes, when I was commenting earlier about the simple mandate that there is for any agencies that have employees that have a group that they disclose, their names and to their management. So when you hear people praising Luna and he can't follow a simple mandate that's required of all government agencies, if their employees are using a group, are in a group and they're using names and things like that, as long as their management has the information and it's not anything inappropriate, they allow that. So I don't know what's going on with sheriff's deputy department that can't do that, especially after lawsuits and settlements have been given. So I want to read the one about the ace of spades that I brought to the commission's attention, and they didn't do anything until the lawsuit. And it says here that they were finally able to, after the lawsuit, they were finally able to find out that they voted for them to get the tattoo. So, well, anyways, let me read this real quick. The ace of spades tattoo, because I'm running out of time, is associated with the Lakewood Station. We have a lot of Black lives that matter in the Lakewood Station. Click in the LASD. The meanings of they have the ace of spades tattoo, and in Vietnam, they would throw the ace of spades tattoos on dead bodies. So they're not here to protect and serve. Their station, they also have a number 13,
13 with the ace of spades, and they vote people to get that tattoo.
Thank you. Our next in-person public comment is from Jacqueline Venters. If you could please take the podium, and if Ali Rubenfeld could please take the queue. Thank you.
Okay, in 2018, McDonald was part of a podcast, KPCC, 4 shootings, 1 deputy. He said on the podcast that he would investigate. No investigation into Nell Billups' shooting 5 times in the back and a planted weapon that he was excluded from. District Attorney Gascon requested investigation. Attorney General Rob Botta requested investigation. Board of Supervisors Office, Office of Inspector General, none of them investigated because this deputy would be in jail. But I know that the inspector, everybody sent the requests for investigation and nothing happened. And it seemed like the county council works with the work with the sheriff department because there's no accountability from their office also either. We have a young man that's running for sheriff. His name is Andre White. We're supporting him. We need some change up in this department. And some of the campaign forums I attended, and this young man, he's young, he's only 34 years old, but the answers that he was questioned, he's like a pioneer, young but with an old soul and cares about the community. The cover-ups are real. They come from the Internal Affairs and the Homicide Investigating Unit. All of them work together. So we have no justice, none, because they friends. They might go home and play with each other, their kids, their wives, or whatever. So who's holding them accountable? From the Department of Justice, I think it is, this guy named Alan Yoshin something, I can't pronounce his last name, but he needs to be investigated. He's on a lot of my documents, and he's covering up for the sheriff department. There have been initiated investigations, but I have the paperwork where he blocked them and stopped them with lies because the people that's investigating are afraid to tell me the truth, and I have the proof.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Ali Rubenfeld.
Hello, Allie with the Loyola Anti-Racism Center and Center for Juvenile Law and Policy, as well as Check the Sheriff. We have some information that suggests that LASD's non-compliance with subpoenas is more of a global issue. Attorneys from the Center for Juvenile Law and Policy subpoenaed records for a client who was arrested while being sex trafficked. She needed these records in order to vacate her charges and move on with her life. Detective Lopez from the City of Industry Station refused to comply with a subpoena and referred to it as, quote, an illegal court order. Meanwhile, LASD's Record Integrity Bureau confirmed that the subpoena was valid, but said they could not force the Detective Lopez to comply despite referring to his conduct as, quote, stonewalling and unreasonable. This indicates that LASD's noncompliance with subpoenas is a systemic issue, which is precisely what this body is empowered to investigate. We suggest that you review LASD's compliance with subpoenas as a whole in relation, as well as in relation to this body. Separately, with the updated information about the deputy gangs, including the $8 million settlement that's been discussed here today, and the OIG's report last month saying that LASD is not asking the questions necessary to identify deputies gangs, we urge this commission to take steps to take up the mantle on the deputy gang issue and start asking questions that LASD refuses to. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last in-person public comment is from Olivia Irene Fitzsimmons.
Hello, good morning. My name is Olivia Irene Fitzsimmons. I would like to start with that my mechanisms I have been born to have not been awarded in the state of California. Also, there is a night stalking that is going on to civilians with sheriff and personnel that are not sheriff. Because sheriff is coming at the door at 1 in the morning, there are individuals stalking before and after that do not have any well-being for citizens and civilians. And this is both indoor and outdoor. I manufacture my home every day, and I go to different sites daily. I've been to the police commissioner meeting. I've been to City Hall. My favorite at this time is the police commissioner meeting. I do understand it's just sheriff once a month. and there's also a fire commissioner meeting. So there's different meetings to go to, but there has been several gunshots heard in 90038 in the Santa Monica and Orange Drive area, which is where I reside due to camera footage protection. But there are several gunshots in a triangle format. So if you hit La Brea and Santa Monica, and then you hit Highland and Santa Monica, going forward towards Melrose, there's gunshots in those neighborhoods going in the triangle format from Orange Drive. And I find that interesting because towards Hollywood, there's not as many gunshots. So I would like Sheriff to know that there is night stalking. When I say night stalking, I was awoken at 3 in the morning by a male individual that I know is not appropriate because they said they got a call. But I was sleeping, so there was nothing unrest of me to have been bothered at that time. And that's also happened before, and it ended with the fire department taking blood work as well as noticing that I had a 224 heartbeat. So waking me at night is not healthy to my health, but it's not alarm status. It's notice of what they're doing. But night
thank you.
stalking and shots are something that's occurring in the city of Los
Thank you.
Angeles. Thank you.
Our first online public comment is from Amada Otero. You have been unmuted.
Otero, and I am a student policy advocate with the Sunita Jain Anti-Trafficking Initiative at Loyola Law School. We are excited that human trafficking survivor leaders who work with SJI will be on the agenda in May, but wanted to provide comment today since we were not included in the April agenda during Crime Victims Awareness Week. Labor trafficking for forced criminality occurs when traffickers compel victims to commit illegal labor or services for the trafficker's benefit. This can include being forced to steal, sell, cultivate, or transport drugs and/or gang-related activity. Victims of this form of labor trafficking are often misidentified as criminals by law enforcement and face arrest, incarceration, and lifelong criminal records. This increases the victim's vulnerability as traffickers use these circumstances to further control those who struggle to reintegrate into society. Thus, the cycle of exploitation persists. We encourage the LA County Sheriff's Department to coordinate with DYD for referrals for services instead of arrest and lead in addressing forced criminality with trauma-informed training to better identify human trafficking victims. Recognizing potential victims during arrest can significantly help connect them to needed services to leave their traffickers and support the department's efforts to achieve justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Anastasia. You have been unmuted.
Hello. This seems to be the most appropriate place to make a public comment unrelated to the rest of your actions, but it's very obvious the LA County Sheriff's Department needs a little more work, but I assure you, there's a county called Riverside County that needs a lot more work, and they have a bad sheriff, bad cop, Sheriff Chad Bianco. So I understand what's going on. I'm also a candidate, nonpartisan candidate for governor of California, which means gang-free. No reds, no blues, just getting the business done. And I hear you. So please vote nonpartisan. You don't have to vote for me. There are 23 candidates that are nonpartisan. Please vote for gang-free California. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Raquel Derfler. Raquel, you've been unmuted.
Good afternoon. Yes, Raquel Derfler with Cancel the Contract out in the Antelope Valley. I'm actually going to be reading a statement from one of the young folks that was involved in the incident that Chair Johnson had mentioned earlier. She was too traumatized to actually read this aloud. So these are her words. When they arrested us, there was no probable cause, and the first deputy was actually getting ready to let us go. But then his supervisor arrived and said we were going to be taken to jail. When they arrested me, I had no socks or shoes on, and I never received anything to cover my feet until the day I was taken to court. I didn't get a change of clothes until the day before my scheduled court appearance. When I was booked at the Lancaster station, I let them know that I had started my period, but the jailer never provided me with any pads, and I was forced to use toilet paper from the cell and to rinse my undergarments in the sink in front of everyone. I was in jail from Sunday night, March 29th, until the evening of April 1st. I wasn't allowed to make any phone calls until my sister called the station and told them I needed to call her because it was important. My sister only knew I was arrested because my boyfriend's mother had received a call from a bail bondsman to let her know that her son was in jail. And then my boyfriend's brother called my sister. I only got pads after I talked to my sister and she told them I needed some. It was only another trusted inmate that provided me with the things that I needed. They would put my toiletries outside the door so I could see them, but I couldn't get them. And they would not give them to me when I asked. They were very rude and aggressive with me. And when we were in the hospital, they made me change my pad with my handcuffs behind my back. They denied me water and made me walk to the hospital and through the hospital with no shoes in the rain. I spent all day, Wednesday, April 1st, in the holding cell of the courthouse and finally was let go at the end of the day with no charges ever being brought against me or my boyfriend. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final comment is from Deanna Brock. Deanna, you've been unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So I just keep reiterating the same thing. I think thank you for continuing to fight for the subpoenas of my son, Emmett Brock, Joseph Perez, and Andres Bordado. Being at these meetings, we can see how necessary this is. There's a culture within LASD that needs to change, and it's only going to change by holding individuals responsible for having accountability. There's excessive force being used all the time. The gangs have been a big problem. I keep showing up and speaking up. My son's case, luckily, was picked up by the FBI, and this deputy was fired. The other 3 sergeants, a commander, 3 other deputies at the Norwalk station have all been supposedly held accountable. They said they were relieved of duties, but I don't even know for sure if that means they were fired or if they were just transferred somewhere else. But, you know, citizens are afraid to speak up. They've been harassed. This blue line is a real thing, and it's scary. I mean, when I'm just driving down the street and a sheriff's cruiser pulls up next to me, my physical reaction is just a pain and a panic, because I saw firsthand how they all cover up for each other. Unfortunately, it's not just one bad apple. I mean, they really all stick together, and it needs to change. And it's only going to change by these commissions having subpoena power to be fought along the way, for 59 meet and confers to be open. It's very frustrating. And people ask me, why do you keep attending these? Things don't change. I said, because we have to show up and speak up. And I will continue to do so, even though my son's case is closed.
Thank you. Chair Johnson, that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you again to all who have made their voices heard today and borne witness to family members present and lost. I also want to thank members of the department who came and who presented, who discussed, provided comments, updates, both formally and informally. The next gathering of this commission will be the May 6th forum on automated license plate readers. That's again 5:30 to 7 on Wednesday, May the 6th. We are looking forward to having the icy conditions forum that this commission has planned. Will probably be early June, coinciding with the 1-year anniversary of the federal invasion of Los Angeles that has highlighted the distinction between constitutional and unconstitutional law enforcement practices. And I just want to note again, the May 21st next meeting of this commission here at St. Anne's. With that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. That is unanimous. We are adjourned until May 21st. Thank you.
Say so.